Every single day, the routine is the same. Maru seems like just a simple butcher, carving through pork from dawn to dusk. But hidden beneath that apron lies a legendary ability waiting to be unleashed. When his eyes glow crimson, time itself seems to freeze. He slices through obstacles with godlike speed. Yet, before this awakening, his existence was painfully ordinary. He slaved away at a local shop specializing in pork. But one day, the winds of fate began to shift. Tension filled the air. His boss seethed with jealousy, unable to stomach the thought that Maru might actually possess superior skill. The hulking man loomed over him, trying to crush his spirit. He demanded to know if Maru really thought 5 years of experience was enough to usurp his throne. Steel slammed against stone. The boss buried his cleaver into the wall right behind Maru's head. He expected fear, but Maru didn't even flinch. It was just another day of flexing and bad jokes. The manager was merely showing off a prime cut of meat, bursting with pride over his own butchery skills. Beside him, Maru remained an unshakable mountain. He simply nodded and continued his craft. His knife danced with surgical precision, sliding perfectly through flesh and bone with every stroke. Suddenly, the boss wraps him in a suffocating back hug, showering him with praise. Maru coldly brushes him off, telling him to stop obstructing the work. Totally ignoring the rejection, the manager pivots. He bellows at the top of his lungs, calling out for someone named Kim Young. Silence answers him. She is fast asleep at her desk. He unleashes a roar that shakes the room, startling the poor girl into a panic. The accountant, Kim Young, wakes up with her mouth already full. She questions this so-called fieldwork, waves a lazy goodbye, and demands they bring back delicious snacks. The boss latches onto Maru once more. He stares intensely, asking if the young man realizes the depth of his affection. Maru creates a mental list of this affection: terrible pay, forced overtime, and 0 days off. Yet with a passionate gaze, the manager insists this is merely tough love. The mood shifts. The manager asks if Maru remembers the ultimate test from his very first day, the order to slaughter a living pig. He recalls the wager, a promise of payment if Maru could take the life of the animal, a brutal task where most normal men would falter. The moral weight of killing usually stops people cold, but not Maru. He showed zero hesitation, executing the order without a single blink. That was the moment of revelation. The manager dumps a bucket of water over his own head in excitement, declaring that Maru was born to walk the path of the butcher. Back in the present, Maru sighs. He complains bitterly about being dragged out here in the middle of his shift, and the situation gets worse. He realizes with horror that the boss brought him here just to scrub his back in the bathhouse. The manager commands him to use his old-school brawling strength. Maru refuses to lift a finger without payment. As he scrubs, the boss senses the desperation in his touch. The boy needs money. Maru's expression turns grave. He confirms it with a heavy nod. He needs cash, and he needs a lot of it. The boss drops his voice. He offers an opportunity, a job that won't just fix a leaky roof, but could finally drag Maru out of the hell of poverty. Maru accepts in a heartbeat. He asks for the mission details. The manager peers at him, asking if it's true he once studied in Japan. A wide, blinding smile spreads across the boss's face. That is all he needed to hear. He tells Maru to pack his bags. A plane cuts through the clouds, heading east. Shortly after, Maru steps off into the quiet isolation of rural Japan, waiting at a lonely bus stop. Silence surrounds him. He realizes he is completely alone. His face twists into a mask of pure shock and disbelief. The truth hits him hard. The plane is gone. He has been abandoned in a foreign land. 6 long months have passed since that day. Maru had been deployed here on a request from a Japanese firm, supposedly desperate for an urgent supply of meat processing. He works like a machine, no days off, questioning his life choices. But through the haze of exhaustion, he notices the atmosphere in this workplace is wrong. They claimed a staff shortage, yet he is the only butcher on the floor, and constantly lurking in the shadows, a sinister man watches his every move. Maru tries to enforce the rules, telling the observer to stop smoking. He is met only with cold ridicule and mocking laughter, but the work itself is the true anomaly. They demand only the ribs be separated with perfection, discarding the rest of the meat like garbage. He hoists one of the ribs. It sits heavy in his hand, possessing an unnatural weight that defies logic. He squeezes the bone, confirming his suspicion. Something is hidden inside. His expert eyes catch a microscopic cut line and a trail of white powder leaking from the crack. The puzzle pieces click together. No local butcher would dare touch this job. That explains why the Yakuza are breathing down his neck. He stares at the bone in his hand. That white powder is a death sentence waiting to happen. He tries to rationalize it, telling himself he will be home soon. But his survival instinct screams at him to drop everything and run immediately. Meanwhile, back in South Korea, the boss answers his ringing phone, surprised by the caller ID. Huddled in a phone booth, Maru explodes. He screams that he cannot survive another 6 months of night shifts under the Yakuza's glare. The boss shouts back, asking why he is folding now. Maru retorts that this isn't fatigue, there is something fundamentally rotten at the core of this factory. The manager plays his trump card. He reminds Maru of the crushing family debts and how he begged for a chance to change his life. He presses harder, asking if Maru thought wealth came easily. He swears he will sort everything out in just one more month. Maru grits his teeth until they nearly crack. He has no choice. He agrees to the deadline. He slams the phone down and punches the booth wall, his fist trembling with rage. Trapped by poverty, with eyes full of fire, he curses this hellish nightmare he has walked into. Back at the station, his knife crashes down into the meat with lethal force. He channels every ounce of rage into the blade, chanting a desperate mantra, just one more month to survive. A sharp voice cuts through the noise, speaking Japanese. Maru turns, his expression heavy with exhaustion. The Yakuza enforcer saunters over, a stomach-churning smile plastered on his face. He asks if the slaughter is proceeding according to plan. Then, using the same hand he just used to adjust his crotch, he pats Maru's cheek. Disgust floods Maru's veins. He decides right then that this man needs to die. The gangster taunts him with a recruitment offer, pushing Maru's patience to the absolute breaking point. But the glint of a pistol tucked in the man's waistband stops him cold. Maru forces his murderous impulse back down, masking it with calm. Maru shifts the topic, and the guard mentions he is clocking out early, leaving a rookie in charge. Heavy footsteps echo, signaling fresh trouble. A mountain of a man covered in tattoos steps forward. Maru freezes, stunned to realize this giant is actually the same age as him. The guard makes the introductions and barks an order. Take the ribs to the drop zone. Clutching a bowl, the rookie asks for specifics. The boss snaps, telling him to use his brain and just stash them in the corner. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. The heavy meat hooks above begin to sway with violent intent. Maru looks up, confusion turning to alarm. Then, the floor beneath them lurches, the entire warehouse begins to convulse. An earthquake strikes with terrifying force. The boss ignores safety, screaming desperately to protect the merchandise. The tremor knocks the rookie off balance. With a panic-stricken yell, he crashes down, scattering ribs across the concrete floor. Bone shatters on impact. But instead of marrow, a thick cloud of white powder explodes into the air. Maru coughs, covering his face instinctively. One sniff is all it takes. He knows exactly what this illicit substance is. The guard forces a nervous laugh, asking if Maru is scared of a little quake. He lies through his teeth, claiming it is just bone dust, and orders him back to work. Maru keeps his mouth shut and covered, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. Meanwhile, the boss berates the rookie for the clumsy mess. Maru begins a silent retreat. But then, the rookie makes a fatal error, reminding the boss that the butcher is Korean. He assumes Maru is oblivious to the drug operation, and more dangerously, that he doesn't speak a word of Japanese. Maru stops. With his back turned, he replies in flawless cold Japanese, "Shut your mouth." He glances over his shoulder, eyes sharp. He heard everything. Pure fury ignites in the guard's gaze. The truth hits them like a truck. The Korean understood every single secret they just spilled. Instant escalation. The guard shoves his gun into Maru's face, muttering a hollow apology before preparing to execute him. Staring down the barrel, despair washes over Maru. He thinks of the grind, the endless days of labor, all to support his family. After all that suffering, is this how it ends? Dying like a dog in a warehouse? Terror grips him as the finger tightens on the trigger. But deep within, something snaps. Maru refuses to accept this fate. A memory surfaces, the voice of his old mentor, recalling the test from his very first day at the slaughterhouse. While normal men hesitated to kill, Maru had stepped forward. He performed the task without a single blink. Others trembled after taking a life. Maru stood like a statue, completely unmoved by the blood. With dead eyes, he had asked only one thing. What is the most efficient way to kill it in one strike? His mentor had watched, fascinated. A sinister grin had spread across the mentor's face. He saw what Maru tried to hide. Maru was born for slaughter, whether the meat was pork or human. Reality snaps back. Maru moves with liquid speed. His expression turns ice cold. He stops running from the truth. He is a butcher. The guard screams, clutching the bloody stump where his hand used to be. Maru analyzes the anatomy. Pigs and humans are 95% identical. Years of slaughter have honed his vision. He sees the lines on the body clearly. He knows exactly where the tendons connect. He knows where the blade fits. He knows exactly how to disassemble a life. He stares at his blood-slicked knife. The realization is complete. This is what he was made for. In his mind, he has processed thousands of carcasses. But this warm, red flow, is undeniable reality. For a second, he wonders if he just butchered livestock. His eyes widen as the grim truth settles. That was definitely a human. Suddenly, heavy boots thunder against the concrete. Maru snaps his head up, jolted from his trance. The giant rookie charges like a bull, screaming Maru's name. He slams into the butcher, tackling him to the ground. Maru flies back, crashing into the hanging pig carcasses. The giant lands a heavy blow, demanding to know why Maru hurt his brother. The rookie sobs that the guard was a good man. About to propose, Maru watches the fist descend, sensing death in the air. Survival instinct takes over. He needs one strike to a vital point. With all his might, Maru drives the blade home. Maru freezes. The attack landed, but the result is terrifyingly wrong. The gangster barks, "You think you're the first to stab me, you punk?" before smashing a heavy fist into Maru's face. He scoffs, treating the blade like a mere toothpick. Maru stares in disbelief at the monster's resilience as the man roars and lunges to crush him. Iron fingers clamp around Maru's throat. The crushing force cuts off his air, leaving him gasping while the man screams in his face. Darkness creeps into Maru's vision, but a voice cuts through the void. Master Hong Jun-ho speaks. "Pigs have thick fat and sturdy bones. A true butcher does not force the blade," the master reminds him. He memorizes the perfect path through the flesh. With time, you won't just learn it. Your eyes will instinctively trace the lines of death on every body you see. Reality snaps back. Maru grips the handle of the dagger buried in the gangster's chest. With a primal roar of effort, he twists the blade violently. The agony finally pierces the man's adrenaline. He recoils, stumbling back just as Maru delivers a devastating counterblow. The master's voice echoes in his mind. "You are a natural-born butcher." Covered in blood, Maru's gaze sharpens as he finally accepts the predator within. Now only corpses remain in the cold locker. He grabs a leg to drag one body, muttering that this human meat is heavier than any swine. Suddenly, his stomach lurches. A violent wave of nausea hits him, and he slams a hand over his mouth to hold it back. The metallic stench of blood is too much. His control breaks, and he vomits onto the slaughterhouse floor. Gasping for air, he whispers, "It was self-defense." But looking at the carnage, he knows the grim truth the police would never believe a word of it. A colder fear grips his heart. The Yakuza. They will never stop hunting him for this. His eyes harden with resolve. There is only one way to survive. He must burn everything to ash. Suddenly, a shout rings out from the catwalk above. A new enemy appears, training a gun directly at him. Maru spins around, terror flooding his veins. The shooter opens fire, enraged that a lowly worker slaughtered his elite men. Maru scrambles for his life as bullets spark around him. He dives into a walk-in freezer, the gunman's voice chasing him. "Running away, you coward?" The killer laughs, mocking him. "You just ran yourself into a grave. There is no exit here. Stop running and die." The gun roars again. Smoke curls from the barrel as the assassin steps into the icy fog. He moves with calculated silence into the freezing room, but at first glance, his prey has vanished. Walking among the hanging meat, he taunts, "Come out, and I'll make it quick." But the heavy silence makes him pause. Something feels wrong. He plants his feet firmly next to a massive, frozen pig carcass hanging from the ceiling. "Playing hide and seek?" he sneers. Frustrated, he unleashes a hail of bullets into the hanging meat, screaming, "Where are you?" Suddenly, the carcass splits open. A wounded foot drops from Time's inside, Time's the meat, revealing the gruesome hiding spot. Maru bursts from the hollowed-out pig. Screaming like a demon, he charges with a heavy cleaver in hand. The gunman freezes, his mind unable to process the horror. Maru uses the swinging carcasses to launch himself forward. Impact. The cleaver connects, sending the assassin flying backward. The man crashes down, screaming in rage. "You little punk!" Maru doesn't stop. He roars, "Disappear!" and drives the blade forward in a blur of motion. "Shut your mouth!" Maru screams, sick of the insults. But the gunman just smirks, wheezing, "You fool! You should have gone for the neck." Even while pinned, the killer raises his machine gun. The muzzle stares right at Maru's chest. "Die, you pig!" he screams. He squeezes the trigger, but his finger refuses to move. It only trembles helplessly. Panic explodes in the gunman's eyes. In Maru's memory, Hong Jun-ho explains the brachial plexus, the nerve center controlling the limbs. "It is the same in humans," the voice teaches. "Strike this point, and you sever the connection. Man or beast, they cannot move." "Do you see it now?" Hong Jun-ho asks. "The undeniable similarity? But be warned, a day will come when you can no longer tell the difference between the two. Reality returns." Maru raises the cleaver high. The killer begs for mercy, but Maru stares down with dead, empty eyes. The blade falls. 6 hours later, a plane touches down in Korea. Maru trudges up the long stairs to his neighborhood, luggage in hand. Suddenly, the adrenaline fades. Exhaustion crashes over him, forcing him to stop and gasp for breath. "I should move," he thinks. But relief washes over him. He made the flight. The Yakuza trail went cold at the airport. The fire did its job. The slaughterhouse, the bodies, the evidence all turned to ash. He stands before his house. Finally, the nightmare is behind him. It is over. He steps down to the back entrance, but he pauses. The lights are on. Why are the lights on so early? His hand grips the cold knob. He forces a cheerful smile, pushes the door open, and calls out, "I'm back. I brought money and gifts." But the warmth in his eyes dies instantly. A nightmare awaits him inside. He freezes on the threshold. The house has been torn apart, chaos reigning where peace once stood. Shock hammers his chest. What hell broke loose here? Empty drawers hang open like gaping mouths. His first instinct is a burglary. Panic seizing his heart. He screams for his mother and Naru, his voice cracking with desperation. Crunch. Something brittle shatters beneath his boot. He freezes mid-step, looking down in confusion at the debris. He crouches low. It is not debris, it is the fragment of a massive bone. Horror washes over him like a bucket of ice water. A calm voice cuts through the silence. "Glad you're back." Maru looks up to see men in suits filling his home. Yakuza. His blood runs cold. How did they track him down so fast? They found him already? A grim-faced older man steps forward, blocking his path. "Are you Maru?" he asks. "We were hunting for you, but you just made our job easier." Maru grips the jagged bone shiv like a dagger. They chased him all the way to Korea. This ends now. Knuckles turning white, he prepares to slaughter them all. But then, Maru's killing intent turns to pure bewilderment. The man flashes a badge, not a blade. "I am Detective Han Tae-sik, Narcotics Investigation Division." The detective's eyes are steel. He speaks Maru's name, with authority. "You need to come with us. Now." Maru blinks, his brain short-circuiting. "Detective? Narcotics Division?" He glances through the doorway. Flashing lights. Uniforms. These aren't gangsters. They are the law. Memories of the bodies he piled up in Japan flood his mind. Did his violent past finally catch up to him? The detective cuts off his spiraling thoughts. Details later. "Right now, I need your cooperation." Maru gestures to the wreckage of his home. "Do police trash houses now? What did I do?" But an officer shakes his head grimly. "You have it wrong, kid," the officer explains. "We didn't do this. Your mother did. She had an episode." Detective Han confirms the nightmare with a grave nod. "She is on heavy stuff, son." Maru stands paralyzed, his world shattering. His gaze falls on a shattered picture frame. A happy family frozen in time. Father, brother, Maru, and a smiling mother. He remembers the truth. She was always a mess, immature, spending money they didn't have, even after bankruptcy ruined them. But her smile was his sunshine. Now, that memory burns away, replaced by the sight of her writhing in agony. He watches from the hallway. Doctors struggle to restrain her on the hospital bed. It is a scene from hell. The detective sighs, his voice heavy. "She was like this when we found her." Cold sweat drips down Maru's spine as the reality sinks in. Han holds up an evidence bag containing white powder. "We scraped this off the floor." "When did she start using?" Han asks sharply. Maru stammers, claiming ignorance. The detective leans in, pressure mounting. "You really don't know?" Han's eyes narrow into slits. He smells a lie, or perhaps a convenient truth. "Fine." He hands Maru a business card. "Call me if your memory improves." The police fade down the corridor. Maru is left alone by his mother's bedside, drowning in silence. Later, in the suffocating darkness of the underground garage, tension fills the air. Detective Han sparks a cigarette. His rookie partner hacks and wheezes, tears streaming down his face. "Captain, please, the window." But Han snaps at him to shut up and focus. "It's a gas chamber in here," the rookie cries. "Why should I freeze outside just to smoke?" Han grunts, unbothered. He crushes the cigarette into a cup, overflowing with ash, his mind racing. He mutters Maru's name like a curse. The pieces of the puzzle are finally clicking together. Back in the ward, Maru stares at his unconscious mother. None of this adds up. Logic dictates the Yakuza couldn't have moved this fast. They couldn't have beaten him here. Then who destroyed his mother? Suddenly, his phone vibrates. The screen flashes, Manager Hong. Answering, he hears Hong Junho's voice feigning concern. "You okay after the Japan fire?" Maru tries to brush him off. "I'm busy." Hong's tone shifts instantly, dramatic, darker. "Don't hang up. Tell me exactly what is happening." Then, the dagger drops. "Did your mother enjoy the drugs?" Maru freezes, the phone trembling in his hand. Maniacal laughter erupts from the speaker. Maru's vision turns red with fury. "What did you say?" The scene cuts to Hong lounging in a luxury spa. "Did you receive the bone marrow gift well? You really thought the Yakuza found you? How naive." Maru goes silent. The weight of his sins and his stupidity crashes down on him. Hong's voice drips with venomous cynicism. "You did nothing wrong. You are an elite butcher. I have a spot saved just for you." Maru explodes. A roar of pure fury tears from his throat. "You touched my family!" Director Hong's voice cuts through the chaos like a blade, icy and commanding as he snaps Maru's name to silence him. He twists the knife deeper, revealing that Maru's sister is so desperate to see him that Hong paid her a little visit at work. He ruthlessly reminds Maru of the harsh reality. His mother needs rehab, and surviving in this hell requires money. Standing in the sterile silence of the hospital, Maru listens to the devil's bargain. He can earn a fortune, but only if he's willing to become a butcher of men. Maru grinds his teeth in suppressed rage, but Hong casually invites him to pick up a nobody target. The director signs off with a cheerful chirp, promising to chat later as if discussing the weather. Maru ends the call, his gaze falling upon his mother, still trapped in a coma on the white hospital bed. His knuckles turn white as he grips the phone, almost crushing it. The crushing weight of the decision settles on his shoulders. With his face cast in grim shadow, he accepts his dark destiny, knowing there is no other path left to walk. The scene shifts abruptly to the grimy interior of a moving delivery truck. One of the laborers barks at his coworker for freezing up, spitting insults and sneering that this filthy work is all he's good for. Suddenly, a massive sack slides from the stack and slams onto the asphalt. The coworker spots the rookie standing there and screams at him to pick up the pig that fell. Annoyed, the man hoists the heavy load, cursing under his breath. He glares, asking if this is how they treat high-quality meat, and threatens to report the disrespect to Manager Hong. The other man curses in response, but falls in line, heaving the heavy sack onto his shoulders with a grunt of effort. He hops out of the truck, muttering a stream of profanities, his frustration boiling just beneath the surface. Supervisor Beck wipes sweat from his brow, complaining about the stifling heat and the endless pile of packages. His partner, Choi, sharply tells him to go grab the rookie once he's finished whining. Beck bristles at the command, accusing Choi of mistreating him, but Choi coolly reminds him that he lost the game of rock, paper, scissors fair and square. With a provocative smirk, Choi teases that Bake is just terrified of the new guy. A vein throbs on Bake's forehead. The disrespect is pushing him to the breaking point. He snatches up a massive meat tenderizer, eyes blazing with fury as he demands to know who Choi is calling a pig. Unfazed, Choi smoothly draws a gleaming boning knife. Steel sings against steel as their weapons clash. The killing intent is so palpable it manifests as spiritual avatars, a ferocious red dragon facing off against a majestic white tiger. Choi taunts him through the gridlock, asking if the pig insult finally penetrated his thick skull after all this time. The two warriors glare at each other with pure animosity, ready to turn this delivery job into a bloodbath at a second's notice. With a sigh, Choi sheathes his knife, calling Beck adorable to get the last word. He walks away, leaving the truck to Beck, certain the hothead will cause a disaster on his own. Hours later, under the cover of night, the delivery truck sits parked in front of the Target building. Inside, Bake is snoring peacefully, oblivious to the world. A snot bubble pops, snapping him out of his slumber. He blinks groggily at a stray cat peering through the truck window and asks if it's here to cover for that slacker Choi. He scoops up the feline, teasing it about coming for the scent of fresh meat, treating the deadly mission like a casual break. His stomach grumbles and his mood sours. He stomps down the stairs, convinced that Choi abandoned him to go grab dinner with the rookie. Spotting the building's front door hanging slightly ajar, he assumes they're having so much fun inside they forgot to lock up. He strides in, calling out for Choi with the cat still tucked under his arm, but as he steps into the light, his eyes go wide with shock. The hallway is a scene of total devastation, shattered bottles and broken glass carpet the floor. He approaches a slumped figure, cursing Choi for letting things get this out of hand. He barks at the rookie, demanding to know where Supervisor Choi is, while warning him that Manager Hong won't be pleased with this mess. Met with silence, he leans in closer. The realization hits him like a truck. The battered body on the floor is Choi. He tries to wake him, his voice trembling with confusion. Desperate, Bake runs a hand through his hair. He can't believe that an elite fighter like Choi allowed himself to be taken down. His grip tightens on the handle of his massive mallet. Rage boils over as he questions how a mere rookie dared to point a blade at his superior. A manic, threatening grin spreads across his face. He warns the rookie that his attitude will earn him a spot on the floor. But suddenly, Maru steps out of the shadows, cutting the intimidation short. Bake comes face to face with Maru, who spits out the word superior with venomous defiance. With eyes cold as ice, Maru asks if Bake is another dog from World Livestock. Bake cracks a mocking smile, clearly underestimating the predator standing before him. Resting the sledgehammer casually on his shoulder, he sneers at Maru, lamenting that kids these days have zero respect for their elders. Explosive motion. Maru launches a surprise attack with his knife, aiming to end Bake with a wide, unsettling grin. Unflinching, Bake cracks a terrible joke in the face of death. Do you know what you call a strong cow? A sausage. Wham! He blocks Maru's lethal strike with a violent, casual swing of his sledgehammer. The impact is devastating. The blade of Maru's knife shatters into dust. Maru stares at the empty handle, stunned that his weapon was destroyed so easily, while Bake raises the hammer for a crushing blow, yelling for the rookie to wake up. Meanwhile, miles away, a lavish table is set with a party cake and piles of expensive gifts, untouched. In the decorated room, men in suits scramble to clean up a mess. One whispers fearfully, unable to believe they sent a maniac like Chief Bake to retrieve the new guy. Another suit agrees, sweat beading on his forehead. The combination of Bake and Choi is a recipe for disaster, especially given Choi's volatile personality. A third man, agitated and loud, shouts that Director Hong staked his reputation on this rookie being the absolute best of the best. The argument heats up, tempers flaring. One of the executives growls, challenging the others if they have a problem with Chiefs Choi and Beck. The tension explodes into a physical, comical brawl. The men wrestle on the floor, arguing over power levels and whether Bake's dad jokes are legendary or just plain tragic. The witness trembles, insisting his words are the absolute truth. Unlike the idle rumors, he has actually seen the monster known as Chief Bake unleash his power with his own eyes. Memory drags us back to a night painted in blood. Chief Bake grips a victim by the throat, dangling him like a rag doll while cracking a twisted joke about a burning cow. He offers a devil's bargain. Guess the punchline, and you live. This was the precise second a mere gangster ascended to become a living legend of the underworld. Back in those days, he crushed every thug and warlord who dared look him in the eye. He didn't just win, he reigned supreme as the undisputed emperor of the district. His bare fists were already lethal weapons, but true perfection required a tool. The final piece of the puzzle was the sledgehammer, a gift bestowed personally by Director Hong. It was an unholy union of destruction. The physically strongest beast finally grasped the ultimate weapon of heavy artillery, hence his title, the Unstoppable Bull, a force of nature that crushes everything in its path. He sneers at Maru, mocking how such a weakling managed to take down Chief Choi. Maru's knees buckle under the sheer weight of the hammer's pressure. He grits his teeth, admitting that compared to this monster, Choi was nothing but a warm-up. Suddenly, pure terror floods Maru's gaze. With a maniacal grin stretching across his face, Bake hoists the hammer high, ready to grind him into dust once and for all. The earth shatters, but the target is gone. Maru slips away at the very last microsecond, cheating death by a hair's breadth. While the hammer remains buried deep in the concrete, Bake leans in close. He whispers a riddle about an artistic bovine before roaring the punchline, Picasso, as he launches a fresh assault. Furious at the silence, Bake screams in annoyance that his comedy is being ignored. He throws a devastating punch, but Maru manages to raise a guard just in time to absorb the impact. The force launches Maru backward, slamming him brutally into the wall. Bake sighs, complaining that his subordinate has zero sense of humor when a superior tries to lighten the mood. Cold sweat runs down Maru's spine. He realizes a terrifying truth. The longer this battle drags on, the faster this beast becomes. Rage begins to boil behind Bake's eyes. He demands to know why this brat keeps swinging back without paying respect to his jokes. He hefts the massive sledgehammer onto his shoulder again. He growls that he won't stop until he hears a scream or a laugh rip from Maru's throat. A storm of steel descends. Between every bone-shaking strike, Bake spews a barrage of cow jokes, one hatching from an egg, another driving a car. His movements are a chaotic dance of brutality. Asterisk. Crash. Asterisk. The floor tiles explode into shrapnel as he delivers the final punchline at the top of his lungs. A wide, unhinged grin splits his face. He looks around, genuinely admiring the beautiful devastation he has caused. Maru sees his window. He lunges with the broken knife handle, targeting a momentary blind spot in Bake's defense. But in a flash, Maru's eyes go wide in disbelief. The psycho actually caught the blade with his bare teeth. Through the steel clamped in his jaw, he mumbles another riddle about a cow that bites back. He spits the weapon out along with the answer, looking completely deranged. Maru moves to end it, but Bake whines that even Chief Choi had the decency to laugh at that one. Manic laughter bubbles up from his chest. He mocks Maru, claiming these desperate scratches feel no worse than a mosquito bite on his iron skin. The air pressure drops. He raises the sledgehammer high, promising to demonstrate what true power looks like. Then, he becomes a human tornado of destruction. Veins bulge on his forearm as his grip tightens on the handle. The steel groans under his crushing strength. The hammer crashes down like a meteor. Maru rolls away at the final second, gasping on the floor. Despair sets in, the monster has accelerated again. His eyes can no longer track the weapon. Maru realizes with horror that evading is no longer an option. Death is closing in. Bake seizes the advantage, driving a knee into Maru's face. As Maru reels, Bake catches his leg and starts a joke about a cow soaring through the heavens. Using the punchline as his cue, he whips Maru around with violent force, hurling him into the concrete wall like a ragdoll. Maru staggers up, coughing blood from the impact, but there is no respite. A shadow falls over him as Bake descends from above, hammer raised for the kill. He stares down with dead eyes, annoyed at the lack of laughter. He poses one final riddle. What do you call a cow that actually has a sense of humor? Suddenly, Bake's expression freezes. His eyes dart down as he notices something warm dripping onto the floor. Blood flows freely. Beck realizes the rookie wasn't missing. He was surgically targeting vital points the entire time. Director Hong was right, this kid is a monster. Though his body screams, Bake remains standing. He looks down at Maru, panting on the floor, and says he has one serious question. Maru looks up with a defiant smirk and asks, "Does anyone ever actually laugh at your garbage jokes?" Instantly, Bake's face contorts into absolute, blind fury. The hammer handle creaks as he squeezes it to the breaking point. He growls that he considered showing mercy to the new recruit. But now, Mercy is dead, he screams in rage at the insult. Meanwhile, miles away, the rhythmic sound of a hammer driving a nail echoes in a quiet room. It is Director Hong, admiring a photo of Maru, placed lovingly in a heart-shaped frame. He sighs, praising the boy's photogenic beauty. He turns his attention to his subordinates discussing the ongoing duel. They immediately snap to attention, saluting with fear in their eyes. Hong muses that Chief Bake is the perfect grinding stone to sharpen Maru's blade. His men nod nervously, insisting that despite the rookie's potential, Bake is still the apex predator. Hong's smile instantly evaporates. The air turns ice cold. With a voice dripping with venom, he asks, "Why are you insects addressing my times Maru so informally?" The men freeze, terror seizing their hearts at the boss's sudden shift in temperament. Hong commands them to use the title manager. One fool dares to protest, stammering that the new guy is only 23 years old. A chilling smile returns to Hong's face. He gently reminds them of the title they bestowed upon Chief Bake, the Unstoppable Bull. Back on the battlefield, the truth is revealed. A bull, no matter how strong, is just a beast before a butcher. The massive sledgehammer slips from Bake's paralyzed fingers, crashing to the ground. He crashes to his knees, utterly defeated, as the shadow of Maru looms over him. Bake looks up, his eyes wide with the shock of his own ruin. A mere beast could never hope to dismantle a true butcher. The horrifying realization hits him. Maru wasn't slashing blindly. He was dissecting with surgical precision. He realizes the terrifying truth. Maru used a delayed technique, causing every single wound to burst open the instant he exerted his power. Bitter regret floods his mind. He admits to himself that he was a fool to think he was just toying with a harmless rookie. In reality, he had been dancing in the palm of Maru's hand since the very start. Staring down the jagged tip of a broken blade, Bake spits out one last word. Rookie. Maru hoists the massive sledgehammer high, his voice cold as ice. He asks the fallen man what you call an animal that has lost its footing. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a shower of confetti and celebration. A cheering crowd surrounds him, welcoming the newly appointed manager Maru. They scream with fanatical enthusiasm, swearing to serve him with their hearts and souls. Maru says nothing. Silence is his only answer as he casually tosses something toward the cheering mob. Excitement turns to pure horror as the objects land. They aren't gifts, they are the blood-stained badges of two other pigs he has already slaughtered. With a gaze sharp enough to cut glass, he dares them to pick them up. The men snap, drawing weapons in a synchronized wave of killing intent. Maru turns his back on the death squad, walking toward the elevator with chilling indifference to their threats. He glances back with eyes full of hate, calling them filth. He asks why pigs hesitate when the slaughter is right in front of them. From his throne, Hong Junho watches his men prepare for war. He muses that this Maru has evolved far beyond his expectations. In the eye of the storm, Maru parries a chaotic flurry of blows. Then, the hammer swings, crushing one of the attackers with bone-breaking force. Maru is a demon of fury, glaring at his prey, while Hong Junho simply watches the henchmen scream and charge like cattle to the slaughter. He dashes forward, blade flashing. With a single, devastating spin, he mows down every enemy in his radius. Hong Junho mutters that this is not enough entertainment. He leans forward, pushing off his knees to stand. His fist clenches as he whispers Maru's name, but instead of attacking, he grabs two glow sticks and begins waving them like a maniac. Junho screams for Maru to finish the job, leaving his own subordinates paralyzed with confusion. The scene overlays with images of docile pigs in a field. Passive creatures, yes, but push them too far, and they will devour a human whole. For a butcher, the process is absolute. Step 1. Incapacitate the livestock. Maru raises the meat tenderizer high. Gravity does the rest as he brings it down, flattening a target in a single strike. A henchman screams in rage, furious that he dares touch Chief Bake's weapon. He charges, demanding they carve Maru up as an offering on Bake's altar. The next step is bleeding. Before dissection begins, the vessel must be drained of all its filth. Maru understands the assignment perfectly. He raises his blade and plunges it deep into the screaming man. As the man goes limp, the mob attacks from behind. Maru spins, using the dying body as a shield, forcing them to butcher their own comrade. The attackers freeze in horror, cursing Maru as a monster for using a chief as a human shield. One fool rushes in to save the chief, but it is too late. Now begins the first main stage of dissection. As the name implies, it is the brutal act of skinning. With eyes full of madness, Maru charges, carving a path of blood through the crowd. Hong Joon-ho decides the rest of the steps can wait. Silence falls over the carnage. Bodies litter the floor as Maru stands panting, lungs burning for air. He rises from the pile of corpses, mallet in one hand, knife in the other, a true avatar of death. The survivors tremble, eyes wide with terror. They realize they can never defeat a monster operating at the manager level. He takes one heavy step forward. A man screams desperately, begging him to stay back. Junho's voice cuts through the tension. Maru turns, surprised, and instinctively lashes out without thinking. Junho speaks of a time when confusion will reign. He asks a chilling question. Does Maru even know what he is killing? A terrifying smile stretches across Junho's face. He crushes the object in his hand until it explodes into dust. The scene snaps to reality. Hong Joon-ho stands there holding a birthday cake, asking Maru what he thought of the people he just slaughtered. He slams the cake violently into Maru's face, screaming, "Do they still look like pigs to you now?" Junho declares he knew this day would come, the day Maru became a butcher just like him. He invites the blood-soaked man inside, declaring playtime over. Maru ignores the taunt, demanding to know where his sister is. The standoff holds until a foot steps onto the ruined cake. Junho identifies her as Kim Young-in. Maru turns, his eyes locking onto hers, seeing them brimming with tears. She whispers, wondering how anyone could be so cruel. Slowly, she lifts a frosting-covered finger to her lips, tears streaming down her face. Kim Young-in glares at the group with murderous intent. She demands to know who ruined the cake. Her face twists into a mask of pure fury. She screams, demanding the culprit reveal himself. A dying lackey on the floor tries to point out the truth, but silence strikes before the words can escape his lips. Hong Joon-ho stomps on the witness. He points a condemning finger straight at Maru. Instantly, the survivors follow his lead, shifting the blame. Maru freezes, completely blindsided by the betrayal. All he can stammer is, "Me?" Bang! A gunshot shreds the air, the bullet whistling inches past his skull. Kim Yang locks on, screaming scumbag. Maru dives for the concrete as death flies overhead. He can't believe she's packing heat. He's danced with armed killers before. The rule of survival is simple: close the distance or die. He coils to charge, knowing it's a gamble. But shock paralysis hits him. She isn't retreating. She is rushing times him asterisk. Maru's eyes go wide. She's erasing the gap on her own terms. Instinct takes over. He slaps the barrel aside just as it barks harmlessly into the ceiling. Now, she is finally within his grasp. His gaze sharpens. One strike to end this. But she reads him like a book and chambers a lethal kick. Crack. Her boot connects squarely with his chin, snapping his head back with bone-rattling force. He growls, vision swimming from the impact. Before he can reset, a hurricane of fists pummels him without mercy. He spits blood, mind racing. How does this girl possess such monstrous power in close quarters? She unleashes hell, shrieking about avenging her ruined cake. Maru is overwhelmed, unable to find a single opening to defend himself. Hong Joon-ho shouts a warning too late. "She's the top agent!" Bam! She slams Maru into the floor before the sentence even finishes. Joon-ho grimaces, trained by the North. Kim Yang pins Maru down, the cold steel of her gun pressed against his head. Flashback. The scene shifts to a slaughterhouse of broken bodies draped over tables. Amidst the carnage, Kim Yang sits alone. She is inhaling noodles and meat like a starving beast. A shadow falls over her. A hulking man with an axe demands to know which animal stole his kill. He lifts his shades, demanding to see the thief's face. His jaw drops. This isn't a wild boar. It's a human child. Mouth stuffed, she asks if he's southern scum. He grins darkly. "You're human, all right. Just a beggar." He balances a soda on his axe blade. "Finish your meal. No rush." She snatches the drink, chewing aggressively. He watches, fascinated. "You'd make a fortune doing mukbang." "Muk, what?" Realizing she's clueless, he pulls out his phone to show her a video of viral gluttony. He explains the concept. People pay just to watch you eat. The idea shatters her worldview. Money. For eating? Her eyes turn into glimmering stars. This sounds like paradise. He offers her a job with more food. She leaps up. "My revolutionary spirit will never bow to American capitalist pig dogs. Unlimited snacks," he counters. Instantly she bows. "Master, your wish is my command." She sweeps up the remaining food to clean the crime scene. He sighs, ordering her to fetch ice cream on the way back. 1 week later, Hong Joon-ho frowns at a newspaper headline about a mysterious explosion. Kim Yang wanders in, ragged and soot-stained. "Did you cause this?" he asks. He pivots. "Is that my popsicle?" She feigns ignorance, cheeks bulging, as she is officially introduced to the team. Back to reality. Kim Yang has Maru dead to rights on the floor, finger tightening on the trigger. Maru gambles his life. He slaps the muzzle away, the split second it fires. Using the momentum, he hurls her off. But she recovers instantly. planting a savage boot in his face. While the titans clash in the background, a dropped phone buzzes on the floor. It's the wife. A sweet message from the kids lights up the screen near a stumbling survivor. Chief O crawls over, gasping into the receiver. "Daddy's a little busy at work, sweetheart." His blood runs cold. His daughter innocently chirps, "Mommy and I already ate the eel." "Eel?" He panics. "Mommy is sleeping at Grandma's," she adds. "Am I getting a baby brother?" Chief lets out a scream of pure terror. The other survivors wave frantically. "Boss, come hide, hurry." Chief O collapses in relief to be alive. One lackey whispers enviously, "Must be nice, eating eel again." Hong Jun-ho dismisses the chief. "Go home." But Chief begs for overtime. Jun-ho ignores him, eyes locked on the duel between Maru and the gluttonous assassin. Even with the chasm in their power levels, he finds this clash fascinating to watch. Pinned beneath his crushing weight, a henchman gasps out a question, asking if Miss Kim Yang will emerge victorious. Jun-ho laughs, acknowledging her prowess. Her combat skills are as legendary as her bottomless appetite. The subordinates roar, demanding Kim Yang finish off Manager Ha immediately. But with a sinister grin, Hong Jun-ho poses a chilling question. Do they truly understand what they are seeing? He explains the fundamental difference. Kim Yang was manufactured for perfection, but Maru? He possessed a raw, terrifying instinct before he knew a single thing. He only tutored the boy on a whim, simply because he found him amusing. It all began with a single lesson on deboning. Memories flood back. He demonstrates a precise strike on a carcass, declaring that true dissection requires only one clean blow. Instantly, Maru mirrors the movement with terrifying precision, asking if that was correct. Jun-ho was floored. The boy mastered a technique that takes years in just 1 month. He recalls Maru gripping about the difficulty. Since the boy absorbed knowledge like a sponge, Jun-ho decided to escalate the game. The new test? A chained, monstrous beast. A nightmare that would take even a chief-level expert an hour to dismantle. Jun-ho released the shackles, ordering Maru to try his hand. He remembers his exact thoughts as he watched the boy. It didn't take an hour. The boy slaughtered the creature in less than 5 minutes. In that moment, Jun-ho knew. He had finally found the perfect butcher. Back in reality, Maru seizes an opening, striking hard, and sending Kim Yang's pistol spinning through the air. Meanwhile, Jun-ho turns to Chief O with a riddle. Does he know the true meaning of a butcher? It signifies a man with absolutely nothing to lose. Jun-ho smirks, praising Chief O for his sharp insight. On the battlefield, Kim Yang utilizes the gap to draw the blade from her back. Now armed, her eyes scream that this duel is far from finished. She unleashes a torrential storm of strikes against the boy. Maru grips his hilt, his stance like iron as he weathers her fury. With a surge of power, he shoves her back and launches his own assault. Kim Yang's eyes widen in disbelief at the unfolding nightmare. She realizes with horror he is mirroring her exact movements. Jun-ho observes the rapid exchange, noting that taking down Kim Yang will be no simple feat. However, the terrifying truth cannot be ignored. Maru is evolving with every passing second. Steel clashes against steel as Maru intercepts her blade. The battle has devolved into a deadly countdown. Both warriors dig their heels into the earth, bracing for the next explosive collision. Can she crush him before he matches her skill? Or will he survive long enough to transcend her limits? Jun-ho turns to his subordinates, asking if they crave the answer. He rises, standing imperiously atop their cowering forms. A malicious grin splits his face. He denies them the privilege of watching. As the men beg to see the climax, Jun-ho simply crouches down. In an instant, his axe swings. A devastating shockwave rips through the hall, silencing everything in its path. He promises a spectacle far more interesting than their little duel. Terror grips Maru, Kim Yang, and the henchmen alike. Resting the massive axe on his shoulder, his voice drops to a deadly serious tone as he calls out to Maru. A challenging smile plays on his lips as he invites the boy to dance. Gritting her teeth, Kim Yang demands to know if the old man is mocking her. She points her blade, accusing him of betrayal for trampling her pride. But Jun-ho just holds up a card, casually mentioning a luxury buffet that closes in 1 hour. He flicks the golden card into the air, barking at her to run. Like a desperate animal, she scrambles to catch her prize. Jun-ho watches the pathetic display, scoffing at her madness over a mere fallen cake. Turning back to Maru, his smile turns demonic. Their time has finally come. Maru launches himself into the air, blade raised, screaming for the location of his brother. But mid-strike, Maru's rage transforms into pure, unadulterated shock. Jun-ho blocks the death blow effortlessly with his axe, swatting Maru away like a fly. The boy flies backward, his mind reeling at the man's unfathomable strength. Hong Jun-ho steps forward, declaring that the warm-up is over. They must now fight with their very souls. Maru's eyes widen, his senses screaming danger. A single white line bisects the air, Maru feels the phantom sensation of his body being cleaved in two. He freezes, feeling the death blow without a scratch on his skin, whispering Chief Hong's name in horror. Junho warns him, drop his guard for a second, and he is a corpse. Maru's mind drifts back to the past, to when he was 21 years old. Following his father's death, the burden of the family fell on his shoulders. To survive, he took a job at World Livestock. The labor was grueling, but he didn't mind. He remembers Hong Junho teaching him the trade, treating him with the warmth of a father he had lost. Maru gave him his absolute trust. But then, the image of his mother lying broken in a hospital bed shattered his world. A scream of pure desperation tears from his throat. Why did this have to happen? He charges at Hong Junho, swinging with blind fury, screaming for an answer. Why did he do it? Junho blocks the strike with casual ease, but Maru refuses to stop. Junho counters with a heavy swing of his axe, cold and precise. He reminds the boy one last time, keep the movements simple. Junho explains the deadly logic of combat. The grander the movement, the fatal the flaw. Maru eyes a gap, thinking he sees his moment. Knife raised, Maru strikes with lethal intent. But it's a trap. Junho casually flicks him on the forehead, teaching him the painful difference between a mistake and a lure. With a stinging red mark on his forehead, the reality sinks in. Attacking Chief Hong Junho's openings is a one-way ticket to the floor. Panic sets in. If direct attacks fail, what's left? Maru considers the death by 1,000 cuts strategy, slicing him apart piece by piece. Or perhaps a suicide charge? He considers rushing in to end it all in a single clash, just like he did with the glasses-wearing supervisor. No, he remembers the brutal duel against Kim Young. He needs to evolve. Seeing the hesitation, Junho approaches with a wide, unnerving grin, asking exactly what's racing through the kid's mind. Focus, Junho barks, warning him that daydreaming on the battlefield is a death sentence. He scolds Maru for dropping his guard, a rookie mistake that usually ends in a funeral. Maru tries to retreat, but times crack asterisk. Junho catches him with the axe handle, criticizing his amateur footwork for dodging in a predictable straight line. This is the price of being obvious, Junho declares. Maru desperately grapples for the axe, but Junho swats him away like a fly, launching him across the room. Before Maru can recover, the axe handle slams him down again. Junho looms over him, demanding to know if he learned anything at all during his training. Humiliation ignites Maru's rage. He screams, charging forward with renewed bloodlust. The henchmen watch in awe, whispering that the boss is just toying with his food. You fools don't see it, the chief mutters, realizing Junho isn't just trying to torture the boy. The men tremble, calling the boss a beast, a monster. But the chief shakes his head. That's not the monster he's talking about. He reveals the terrifying truth. Maru isn't just surviving. He is matching the boss's impossible pace. Manager Maru. He is the real monster here, the chief declares. In the ring, Junho blocks a vicious strike, casually advising the boy to aim for the vitals. Maru grinds his teeth, the massive power gap crushing his spirit. He charges again, screaming for Junho to stop holding back, while the chief whispers that a legend is being born. Junho laughs, parrying the blows with insulting ease. You want a real fight? He taunts. Then bring me your soul. Come at me with everything you have. Maru evolves with every second, his attacks sharpening, but Junho clicks his tongue. It is still not enough. Junho lets the sheer mass of the axe do the work, crushing Maru's knife defense. He explains that, in a direct clash, size and weight are absolute kings. Maru's knees buckle under the overwhelming pressure. Junho sneers, mocking his stamina. Have you been skipping meals? Is this all the strength you have? With the heavy axe pinning him down, Junho stares into his soul. Did you really think that flimsy resolve would be enough? Under the godlike pressure, snap the blade of Maru's knife shatters into useless shards. Boom. Junho smashes the axe into the concrete next to Maru's head. Stand up, he commands. Humans walk on 2 feet, only animals crawl. He points at the broken steel. Tears for a toy? Junho scoffs. Since your weapon failed you, let's settle this like men. Bare hands. Maru spots another knife and dives for it in a panic. Junho sighs. Does fighting unarmed terrify you that much? I see, Junho concludes, grabbing a heavy table with one hand. You really are helpless without a crutch. As the table flies toward him, Maru screams in defiance, refusing to be a spectator in his own demise. Maru leaps, a killing scream in his throat. But Junho ignores him? He bends down to tie his shoelace, leaving Maru frozen in sheer confusion. Trap sprung, Junho snatches Maru's ankle. Running with untied laces, he scolds. Careless. With zero effort, he flings Maru into the sky. Master the basics before you try to fly. Thwack. Junho swatting him out of the air with the flat of the axe, genuinely annoyed. How would you survive 5 minutes without me? He yells as Maru plummets. Maru's body slams into the floor with a sickening thud. Junho nods, satisfied. Class dismissed. He stands over the broken boy. You must be wondering why I put you through hell today. That factory you burned down in Japan? Junho starts, his voice dropping. Do you know the price tag? 300 billion. 1. The weight of the number hangs in the air. Do you really think you can handle the Japanese syndicates coming for that money alone? Maru needs a way out, a solution acceptable to the devils chasing him. And his mother? She is the collateral. The proof of the punishment waiting for him. Junho gestures to the unconscious bodies on the floor. This carnage proves it. You have the skill to pay back the debt. He adjusts his sunglasses, his voice turning serious. Maru. A devilish hand extends toward the boy. Work for me. 300 billion is a mountain, but under my wing, you will earn oceans of gold. The trap is set, the deal sealed in blood. Junho turns to leave. Heal up quickly, Maru. We have work to do. Broken, bleeding, and lying on the cold concrete, Maru stares at the ceiling. Why? If there was a reason, Maru wheezes. You could have just told me. Junho pauses, glancing back over his shoulder. A maniacal grin splits his face. Because, he laughs, eyes glinting with madness. Breaking you this way was so much more fun. Maru lies sprawled on the cold floor, staring blankly at the ceiling. His body is shattered, completely drained of strength. Yet, a faint, twisted smile begins to curl upon his lips. Suddenly, that small chuckle erupts into a roar. He laughs uncontrollably, a hysterical sound that borders on pure madness. Junho turns around, a satisfied smirk plastered on his face. He asks the question with chilling casualness. You have to admit, that was fun, wasn't it? Maru drags his broken body upright. He agrees it was fun, but completely absurd. Staring Junho down, he confesses the painful truth. I looked at you as my mentor, my father, my savior. He runs trembling hands through his hair, disbelief washing over him. Was all of this just for your sick entertainment? You toyed with my family's lives just for a laugh? He cuts himself off, refusing to use the title chief ever again. From now on, you're just Hong the pig. With bloodshot eyes, he grips his hair and declares war. This is where it truly begins. Hong Junho clenches his fist until the knuckles turn white. Rage radiates from him. Did you just call me a pig? A terrifying crimson aura explodes around his body. He raises his massive axe, his voice booming like thunder. Come at me. Show me your ultimate weapon. Nearby, Sunshin approaches a trembling figure on the ground. Shiwu, what are you doing? Shiwu replies grimly. I'm writing my will. You guys better do the same. Shiwu's voice shakes with fear. No one has ever survived seeing Hong Junho fight for real. His conclusion is bone-chilling. They are all dead men walking. Junho swings his axe, pulverizing the ground, but Maru leaps back, dodging death by an inch. Maru senses the next strike instantly. Junho calls out, mocking yet proud. Have you forgotten everything I taught you? He charges like a raging bull. I told you never to retreat in a straight line. Suddenly, Junho freezes. Something catches his eye. He grips the axe handle, his instincts screaming. Maru launches himself into the air, knife gleaming. Junho realizes too late the straight-line retreat was a trap to expose his face. Junho's mind races. Is he aiming for the axe? The very weapon that pinned him down before? With a defiant grin, Junho accepts the challenge. Maru thrusts the knife, but Junho sneers. To cut my face, you'll have to get much closer than that. Moving with godlike speed, he catches the very tip of the blade. But Maru isn't done. He twists and slashes Junho's chin. Without a pause, he follows up with a devastating strike. The chief's men scream in pure shock. Hong Junho is bleeding? Junho stands frozen, unreacting to the wound. Shiwu stares, jaw dropped. Maru adjusted his distance and the knife's angle in a split second. It was impossible. Junho watches him charge again. Little Maru. He lunges, planting a brutal kick on his student. I was just playing. But you came to kill. Maru keeps his footing, eyes burning. Junho finally realizes the kid isn't holding back. His voice drops to a lethal growl. Keep coming at me like that, and I'll bury this axe in your chest. Without hesitation, he stomps on Maru's chest. He has no choice, he has to kill him. The impact sends Maru flying across the room. Junho stalks forward, taking his time. He's genuinely surprised little Maru survived that kick. Casually, he rests the massive axe behind his neck. A sadistic smile stretches across his face as he flexes his monstrous muscles. So, what do you think of that power? He taunts him, raising the weapon high. Where will it come from? Left, right, or straight down from hell? Maru's eyes widen, focused like a laser. At the critical second, metal crashes against metal. Maru blocks the axe with a sledgehammer. Junho steps back, bewildered. Maru glares at him, panting. Do you know what they call the act of slaughtering a cow? He unleashes a flurry of attacks, screaming, "Die, you cow!" Watching from the sidelines, a realization hits the chief. He knows that weapon. That sledgehammer technique belongs to Chief Beck. And those knife strikes, they are identical to Chief Choi's. Maru shifts his grip instantly. Now, he uses the surgical precise slashes of Miss Kim. The chief is paralyzed with shock. Maru has copied every technique he's ever faced. A terrifying thought crosses his mind. Could Hong Junho actually lose? Junho is forced back, his body covered in fresh cuts. He grinds his teeth in fury and spits out a curse. In a flash, he closes the gap and strangles Maru. "Do you really see me as nothing but a pig?" He rains down relentless punches. "I treated you like gold. I cleaned up all your filthy messes in Japan." The beating continues, brutal and raw. "Is this how you see me?" He throws Maru aside like trash. "Is this how you repay my kindness? By becoming my enemy?" Junho retrieves his axe, his eyes dark. "Don't get it twisted, boy. I haven't used my full power even once." Blood splatters onto the concrete. Exhausted, Maru staggers back to his feet. Junho asks, "Do you really want to see this through to the bitter end?" He raises the axe high. He declares that he absolutely cannot let him survive this. The world spins upside down in Maru's vision. He realizes, if death is inevitable, he must take this monster down with him. "Should I really be fearing death?" he asks himself. "Not after I sacrificed every single memory just for this revenge." To kill the hesitation in his heart, he forces himself to purge every lingering shred of affection. He crushes the positive feelings he once held for Junho into dust. He had severed every emotional tether, viewing humans as nothing more than obstacles to crush. Margaret believed he had sacrificed everything for victory, but there was still one card left in his hand. The only currency he had left to spend was his own life. He stares down Junho, whose axe is raised for the death blow. To claim victory here, he realizes he must cast his own existence into the abyss alongside his enemy. He severs his will to survive, embracing the void. With reckless abandon, Maru charges forward, leaping into the jaws of death for one final strike. Suddenly, gunfire shatters the tension. Kim Yang bursts onto the scene, her weapon blazing as she screams, asking if he has a death wish. Seething with adrenaline, she vows to unleash hell itself. But then, her eyes widen in paralyzed shock. The gun slips from her trembling fingers, clattering uselessly to the floor. Hong Junho turns, a weary smile touching his lips. He asks if the little lady has finally decided to show up. Clang. Junho tosses a key onto the cold ground. He tells Kim Yang that the salvation she seeks lies within a safe in his office. He reveals the truth that leaves her frozen. Every single one of her slave contracts is locked inside that vault. He adds that half the cash is his retirement fund, instructing her to give the rest to Maru. Then, like a puppet with cut strings, he collapses backward, lifeless. Maru towers over the fallen titan, his voice trembling as he calls out. Tears of rage and agony stream down his face as he grips his knife, screaming for Junho to get up and attack him one last time. The timeline fractures. In the shadows of the past, a boy begs for mercy, only for Junho to ruthlessly gouge out his eyes. This is the chronicle of a monster perched upon a mountain of corpses, a man who reigned as the king of a sty, devouring whatever he could to survive. This hell, known as the pigsty, raised humans like livestock in the most twisted way possible. First, they pushed them to the brink, starving the humanity right out of them. They withheld sustenance until the children stood on the precipice of death, letting hunger ferment into pure, unadulterated violence. The starvation was absolute, turning boys into beasts. Then, they would offer a single scrap of food, watching as desperate hands plunged into the filth to claim it. The system was brutal in its simplicity. Observe the lone pig that survived the slaughter, the one ruthless enough to claim all the food for himself. Yet, no matter how fast a pig runs, it remains livestock. The survivors were tamed with violence that far exceeded the agony of starvation. It was a hideous, bone-breaking brutality that carved away his soul and shaped the monster he would become. Only a handful of these pigs survived the culling, learning to guard their food with their very lives. These elite beasts are then unleashed. He approaches a mob boss, asking if he is the famed Sea of Blood of Mappo, leaving the target caught off guard. In a split second, steel flashes. He impales the man before he can blink. The fate of these pigs was written in blood from the very start. The boss's underlings stare in stunned silence, boiling with impotent rage. They were raised to fight, destined only to be slaughtered. But occasionally, a glitch occurs in the system. The livestock destined for the slaughterhouse returns from the mission alive. Even in victory, they are greeted with scorn. A pig does not become a man. It simply returns to its cage to await the next butcher. He sits alone in his cell, chanting the mantra that he is nothing but a pig. He believes he must live and die as livestock, but destiny has other plans. Time and again, he was sent into the jaws of death, yet he always crawled back from the abyss. breathing. As his survival defied the odds, a dangerous spark ignited in his mind. A question began to echo in the hollows of his consciousness. He gazed at the mountains of dead and wondered, was he hunting humans, or was he just another pig? He played his role, donning a suit and gripping his axe. One day, he returned to a reception of sneering men. A man in glasses introduced him to a woman, mocking him as the pig he had spoken of. When Junho met this insult with cold indifference, the handler's irritation flared. The man struck him with a baton, screaming about how a filthy animal dared to ignore him in the presence of his superiors. Junho's eyes burned with a cold fury. He saw the naked hypocrisy of the creature that claimed to be his master. The handler apologized to the president, dismissing Junho as skilled but mannerless. Suddenly, a sharp slap echoes. She strikes the handler for interrupting. She pierces the handler with a gaze and declares that he, too, is no human, just another pig. The man stands frozen, wordless. In that suspended moment, Junho realized the truth. If they were all beasts, then he would seize the reins of his own fate. He rose to his full height and advanced on the handler. The guards shouted for him to stop, warning him not to touch the man. But Junho raised his axe, roaring that he would become the king of pigs. The president watched, intrigued by his audacity. Without a shred of hesitation, he buried the axe deep into the man, ending him instantly. Junho snatched the sunglasses from the corpse. Sliding them onto his own face, he told her, if she intends to use animals, she should use the alpha. She stared back at him, her expression a mask of indecipherable calculation. A subtle smile curved her lips as she agreed to wager on him. And thus, his kingdom was born an empire built by butchers. His existence was consumed by raising and training new livestock. But in the monotony, he met Kim Young, and he met Maru. As he bonded with them, a dangerous dream took root, the hope that he could live as a human being. But that hope was severed by a cruel command, asking him to clarify the word, dispose. He roared into the phone, his fury shaking the receiver, demanding to know why he had to eliminate the only family he had left. The dust settled after they cleaned up Maru's mess, having struck a precarious deal with the Japanese syndicate. President Yu's voice cut through the silence, ice cold and final. She praised their progress but delivered a chilling ultimatum. Dispose of the loose ends, or be disposed of alongside them. The threat hung heavy in the air as she asked the terrifying question. Would he rather be dragged back to the hellhole known as the Pixie? Fists clenching until his knuckles turned white, he reminded himself of his place. He was a pig, and for livestock, orders were absolute. Yet, a rebellious spark remained. He desperately wanted to save Maru. He had naively believed that dragging Maru into the underworld might force the president to reconsider, to show mercy. But reality shattered that illusion the moment Maru looked at him. To be seen as a pig by the very person he tried to save, that was a fate worse than death. He admitted the dark truth to himself. He had considered following orders. He had considered the kill. But when the moment came, his resolve crumbled. In Maru, he saw the blinding contrast, a pig existing without purpose versus a human willing to burn his life force to protect what mattered. Shame crashed over him like a tidal wave. In that fleeting moment of clarity, his greatest desire wasn't power or survival. He simply wanted to become human. He wanted to be seen as a man. Leaning in close, blood pooling from the fatal wound in his chest, he forced the words out. He had to know, in these final seconds, was he finally human? A smile of tragic acceptance touched his lips. He gave Maru one last command, to survive and live with the dignity of a human being until the bitter end. This was the legend of the King of the Pixie, the final chapter of a beast who managed to die as a man. A dark shadow then fell over Junho's still body. Choi Ki-jun, the imposing senior managing director of World Security, knelt beside the corpse. His voice was somber, dripping with a twisted regret that he wasn't the one to deliver the killing blow. With cold precision, he forced Junho's eyelids open. Ki-jun gripped the eye, declaring he was reclaiming the property that had been stolen from him. Stepping away from the desecrated body, he offered a hollow wish for peace. He dialed the phone, his tone shifting to professional ice, as he reported to President Yu. The report was concise. Junho was eliminated, but the critical safe under his protection had vanished into the wind. Facing a legion of his own men, he spoke into the phone with eerie calm, reassuring her that anxiety was unnecessary. As the black van tore down the rainy highway, Ki-jun made a blood vow. It didn't matter where the killer ran. He would hunt him down, finish him, and retrieve the safe at any cost. The scene shifted to Jogong, eyes glued to the surveillance feed while on the line with Chol Woo. He scanned the data, confirming the grim reality of the situation. Through the digital gaze of security cameras, he verified the intel. Junho was confirmed dead, and the high-priority safe was missing from the grid. Ki-jun's voice echoed through the line, cold and unyielding, stating that the fugitive's destination was irrelevant. Sudden violence erupted as a fist shattered the screen. He swore a terrifying oath to end the target's life and return the safe, no matter the bloodshed required. Back at the bloodstained scene, The security camera swiveled, focusing on the survivors. Maru stumbled toward Junho's lifeless body, his voice cracking as he called out. Tears of pure rage carved paths down his face. He screamed at the corpse, begging him to stand up, to keep fighting. Watching him, Kim Yang froze, her mind reeling in shock. This pressure, this aura. She couldn't understand how he had become this powerful, this terrifying, in the span of a single heartbeat. Her assassin's instinct screamed in alarm, her hand gripping her hidden blade white-knuckle tight. Every nerve in her body warned her, avoid this man or die. Overwhelmed by the suffocating intensity of his presence, breath hissed through her teeth. Slowly, trembling, Kim Yang raised her hands in surrender. Maru didn't hesitate, pressing a knife against her throat, his eyes demanding to know why she was in such a rush to the grave. Suddenly, Junho's men threw themselves between them. Sunshin pleaded desperately, explaining that with Director Hong dead, they were all walking corpses anyway. There was no point in killing each other now. Ilbong chimed in, voice shaking, arguing that sticking together was their only statistical chance of surviving the night. They formed a desperate human shield around her, protecting the assassin from Maru's wrath. Maru's gaze turned icy as he asked the only question that mattered. Where is my sister? The men turned their gaze to Kim Yang, deducing she must be the one who took her. Realization dawned on her as she connected the dots to the girl, Hanaru. She stammered, launching into a frantic explanation about Mr. Hong's orders. She explained she was sent to feed the girl, so she took her to a high-end Chinese restaurant. But disaster struck, the company card was maxed out, and she had to leave to secure funds. The memory played out vividly. The crushed cake, the sudden explosion of violence, and her consuming rage as she fought the butcher responsible for the mess. Amidst the chaos of the brawl and dealing with Mr. Hong, the girl had slipped her mind completely. Tears of genuine guilt streamed down her face as she confessed her sin. The scene cut to the speeding van. Kim Yang stood precariously at the open door, wind whipping her hair, asking if this was the spot to jump. The men explained the strategy. They had to split up to confuse the trackers. They urged her to unleash her North Korean Special Forces training. Fear flickered in her eyes. She turned to Maru, whispering that she couldn't do it. Maru's expression was stone cold as he delivered a single command, jump. Summoning her courage, she leaped from the moving vehicle into the darkness, shouting a promise that she would complete the mission or die trying. The men watched in awe, praising her skills, but Maru remained silent, his mind locked on a singular goal. His inner thoughts raced. He had to save his mother and Hanaru. Time was running out, and the titan known as World Group was already closing in. Meanwhile, at Maru's residence, Detective Hisik scanned the crime scene. His brow furrowed. The destruction was massive, yet there were 0 victims. An officer called out from outside, reporting that the neighbors had been evacuated after reporting thunderous noises from the basement level. Officer Lee voiced his concern about Maru's safety, but Detective Hisik cut him off. The pieces didn't add up, and it was time to move. Where to next? The rookie officer demanded, his voice tight with adrenaline. Without wasting a second, the squad car peeled away from the grim crime scene. The detective's grip tightened on the wheel until his knuckles turned white. The hospital, he grit out. We have to reach Maru's mother before it's too late, but fate was cruel. Upon arrival, a nurse delivered the devastating news the patient was already gone, discharged by a squad of grim-faced men in black suits. Panic surged as Ilbong dialed Kim Yang's number. Maru's blood ran cold as he heard Ilbong scream into the phone Naru was missing from the restaurant. Maru's teeth ground together, the sound of pure, unadulterated fury. They had taken both his mother and sister. He tore down the hospital corridor, roaring that his family was being used as leverage in this twisted game. Ilbong's mind raced, calculating the enemy's moves with desperate speed. There was only one fortress in the city center secure enough to hold high-value hostages like them: the World Security Headquarters. The duo froze in their tracks, the crushing weight of this impossible mission settling over them like a heavy shroud. Suddenly, the elevator chimed a sound like a judgment bell. The doors slid open, revealing a wall of black suits blocking their path. Stepping out from the phalanx was Director Chu Ki-jong. He walked with the heavy, suffocating pressure of a predator entering a pen. A cold smirk played on Chu's lips. Unexpected company, he sneered. Facing him was Detective Han Tae-sik, his glare sharp enough to cut glass. Chu mocked the detective for his rotating door of partners. Han fired back instantly, taking a dig at the dirty deeds that bought Chu his recent promotion. What business does a thug have in a hospital? Han demanded. Chu shrugged with mock innocence, claiming he was simply paying a visit to a friend. As he brushed past, Chu leaned in, his voice dropping to a sinister whisper. You'd best watch over your people, detective. Accidents happen. Han watched the gangster retreat, spitting on the ground in disgust. Waste of breath, he muttered. You're the one who needs to watch his back. Suddenly, a subordinate rushed toward Chu, face pale with terror. He stammered that a huge problem had arisen. Maru had been there just moments ago, and they had missed him. Chu raised a single hand. The gesture was slight, but it silenced the man instantly. The director already knew. The subordinate bit through his lip to stifle a scream as Chu applied agonizing pressure, his eyes darting to the detective. The man crumpled, learning the price of a loose tongue the hard way. Han turned, his voice dripping with disdain. "Forget about me. You should learn to keep your own dogs on a tighter leash. My next visit will be to your funeral," Han threatened, eyes burning with promise. "I'll make sure to leave a generous donation on your coffin." Ignoring the jab, Chu's mind churned with dangerous curiosity. How had Maru moved faster than his elite team? Someone was helping the boy. Elsewhere, Maru and Ilbong were intercepted. A shadow stepped into their path, offering a polite but firm greeting. A towering figure in an immaculate suit approached. "I've been expecting you," he said smoothly, gesturing to a waiting vehicle. "We have much to discuss." Maru recoiled, hostility radiating from him like heat waves. Another man in a suit? He had seen enough of this filth for one day. Rage snapped his restraint. Maru lunged, grabbing the man's collar. "Did you take them?" The man calmly confirmed it, igniting a supernova of fury in Maru's eyes. But then, the unthinkable happened. The man bowed deep in apology. He gestured respectfully toward the car's open window, where a silhouette waited. "The chairwoman will explain everything," he stated. Inside, a woman with an aura of absolute power introduced herself as Shim Yun-young, president of the Charlotte Hotel. She sat with the grace of a queen on her throne, regarding Maru with calculated interest. "It is an honor to finally meet you," she said, her voice like velvet concealing steel. Maru cut her off, roaring, "Where is my family?" Suddenly, the other door swung open. Sun Shin stepped out, his presence commanding calm. "Relax." Maru and Ilbong froze, their jaws dropping. Seeing him here was the last thing they expected. "You," Ilbong stammered. "Why are you with them?" Sun Shin simply nodded, acknowledging him as manager with a familiar ease. He explained rapidly. The World Group mobilized. Anti-World factions asked Charlotte to intervene. We had to move fast. Sun Shin apologized for the shock, but Maru wasn't having it. He grabbed Sun Shin, demanding to know what gave them the right to snatch his family. "Kidnapping them for safety?" Maru spat, eyes blazing. "Tell me, how are you any different from the scum at World Group?" Sun Shin didn't flinch. He thrust a tablet forward. "Look, the World Group's hunter team just breached the hospital. If not for us, your family would be in their hands right now." Maru stared at the live feed, the undeniable truth washing over him. The anger didn't vanish, but it turned cold. He shifted his gaze back to Sun Shin, weighing trust against survival. The tension in the air was thick enough to choke on. President Shim smiled, a subtle, dangerous curve of lips. "Get in," she commanded softly. "We will take you to them." The Charlotte Group titans of pharmaceuticals, petrochemicals, and high-stakes finance. Against them stood the World Group monsters of defense, construction, and private security. To the public, they were just corporations. In the shadows, they were rival empires locked in a blood-soaked war for dominance. That war ended when a single man, wielding overwhelming brute force, crushed the stalemate. The Charlotte Group was shattered, split into two warring factions. One side sought to surrender to the World Group. The other, led by Shim, fought to protect what little honor and power remained. "I don't care about your corporate politics," Maru interrupted, his patience snapping. "Get to the point. What do you want?" Ilbong stepped in, his voice grave. "It's not just politics, Maru. Even with Director Hong dead, the World Group's power hasn't faded. It's growing." Yun-yang explains the grim reality. Even with the director dead, escaping the organization's grasp alone while keeping his family safe is a suicide mission. However, she offers a lifeline. With the Charlotte Group's immense wealth and intelligence network, they possess the power to guarantee his success. She gazes at him, the weight of a proposal hanging in the air. Maru stares back, confusion clouding his eyes at this sudden shift in their dynamic. Suddenly, chaos erupts. A van slams violently into their vehicle, the impact sending the laundry car's driver spiraling out of control. Tires screech against asphalt as the entire convoy skids dangerously, turning the road into a chaotic dance of steel and smoke. Inside the van, men are tossed like rag dolls by the brutal force of the crash. The luxury car is hurled across the tarmac, skidding to the opposite side of the road. Dust settles over the wreckage. The vehicles finally grind to a halt, stranded in a standoff on opposite ends of the street. Shin Yun-yang peels her eyes open, pain throbbing through her body. That's when she realizes Maru had shielded her, taking the brunt of the impact with his own flesh and blood. He releases his protective embrace, his voice steady as he checks if she is unhurt. Maru glances outside at the ambush, asking if the World Group has come for them, but she shakes her head. This is an internal purge. She reveals that her own brother, Shim Yong-yu, has betrayed her to seize the Charlotte Group, sending these assassins to claim her head. Placing a trembling hand on his cheek, she stares into his eyes and proposes a life-changing deal. The Charlotte Group will become an impenetrable shield for his family against the World Group. In exchange, he must become her weapon, her absolute sword. Maru holds her gaze in heavy silence, calculating the weight of her words. He turns toward the twisted car door, his decision made, but not without conditions. He issues a challenge. Maru demands she prove her capability to protect his kin first. Only then will he pledge his life as her blade. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a tense arrival. Director Choi Ki-jong steps out of his vehicle, his presence commanding immediate attention. He surveys the grand preparations as he approaches the venue. Climbing the stairs of a magnificent temple, he notes that everything has been perfectly arranged for his reception. At his command, the heavy gates creak open. Inside, the solemn atmosphere is heavy with incense. A funeral service for Hong Jianho is underway. A sea of men in black suits stand in mourning. From the shadows, a woman emerges to greet him, and the director bows deeply in deference. It is Chairwoman Udane, the supreme ruler of the World Group. Her voice is cold as ice as she demands the location of those responsible for Director Hong's demise. Choi Ki-jong reports the situation with hesitation. One target managed to slip away, but they have successfully located the other. The perspective cuts to Kim Yang, who is currently lamenting that her stubborn comrade refuses to leave her be. She sighs, complaining about being too broke to buy a decent meal, wishing her butcher friend had saved her earlier. But reality is harsh. She is trapped in a Chinese restaurant, surrounded by terrified staff. An army of suited thugs encircles her. Realizing there is no escape route, she accepts that violence is the only language left to speak. With a dangerous glint in her shadowed eyes, Kim Yang faces her captors, mocking them with a sugary tone, calling them her sweet South Korean comrades. Then, a wicked smirk curls her lips. She breaks the tension with an absurd question, asking exactly how much cash they are carrying in their pockets. Back on the highway, Maru steps out of the wreckage to face the approaching horde alone. Their leader, Joe Byongo, rallies his men with promises of promotion before sneering at the slender boy standing in their way. Joe draws a menacing blade, barking orders for his subordinates to scrub this stain off the pavement. The thugs swarm Maru, jeering and asking if he is Shin Yun-yang's secret lover. One confident lackey steps in to taunt him, but he is instantly silenced. Maru moves like a phantom. In the blink of an eye, he dismantles the attackers around him. A strange thought crosses his mind. Has it always been this effortless? With a single, precise strike, another enemy falls. The realization hits him like lightning. It isn't that they are weak. It is that he has transcended human limits. Maru stands amidst a field of groaning bodies, pausing to process the terrifying gap in power that now exists between him and ordinary men. The leader, Joe, watches in sheer terror. Trembling, he unsheathes a long knife and screams, demanding to know what kind of monster Maru is. Launching a desperate, final lunge. It is futile. In a blur of motion, Joe's hand is shattered. The gang leader screams, staring in horror at his twisted limb, shock overriding the pain. But the punishment isn't over. Maru strikes again, crushing the other hand. Clutching his broken wrists, the leader spits curses at the monster before him. Maru turns cold, preparing the end. With swift, merciless efficiency, he silences the leader, delivering a precise cut to finish the opponent once and for all. Shin Yun-yang walks up behind him, witnessing the carnage. He turns, blood on his hands, stating that he has proven his worth now. It is her turn. Maru locks eyes with her, his voice firm. He demands immediate proof that she possesses the influence to keep his family safe from this war. He gestures to the totaled vehicle, asking how they intend to reach his mother now. Must they walk the rest of the way? A confident smile graces her lips. She points to the sky as the rhythmic thrum of helicopter blades fills the air. Yun-yang reminds him. He asked for power. She delivers. She beckons him to board the chopper, revealing their next destination is the lion's den, itself that person's funeral. Outside the temple, the air vibrates with the sound of ancient mantras, reciting vows that bind the heavens to the sacred earth. Inside the sanctuary, a monk continues the rhythmic prayer, chanting repentance for all sins born of greed, wrath, and ignorance. The head monk, flanked by his disciples, raises his voice in a song to the Buddha, a melody meant to purify the heavy karma of the dead. Amidst the chanting, Chairwoman Udane steps forward with solemn grace, lighting an incense stick to honor the late Hong Jianho. Director Choi Ki-jong observes the ritual in silence until a subordinate rushes to his side, whispering the news that creates a pit in his stomach. A massive problem has just arrived outside. Kong descends the temple steps, his senses on high alert. Suddenly, a report comes in from the perimeter. The storm has arrived. Maru is on the scene. Meanwhile, amidst the wreckage of a Chinese restaurant, Kim Yang rifles through the pockets of the fallen men. She scoffs, annoyed that the World Group's lackeys are nothing but a nuisance. Perched atop a mountain of broken bodies, she counts her spoils. Is this it? She sighs. looking at the pathetic handful of cash. For big shots, their wallets are awfully light. Her phone buzzes, breaking her train of thought. It is Chief O. Where are you? He barks, before dropping the bombshell about the funeral. Her eyes go wide, the blood draining from her face. Say that again? She stammers in disbelief. Maru is at Manager Hong's funeral? Is he insane? Fury replaces shock in an instant. She screams into the phone, veins popping. You went to eat spicy beef soup without me? Unforgivable. Back at the temple, the atmosphere is suffocating. Maru and his companion face a sea of black suits. One thug steps forward, eyes burning with malice. Are you Maru, the bastard who dared to kill Manager Hong? Do you have a death wish walking in here? Another sneers. A third man, trembling with rage, shouts for a toolkit. I'll carve him up as an offering to the manager's spirit myself. Unfazed by the murderous intent, Shin Yun-young's assistant glances at Maru. How are you feeling? She asks, her voice calm amidst the chaos. About what? Maru replies, his expression unreadable. Aren't you nervous? She presses. Maru shakes his head. No. You said yourself that you were going to prove your worth today. I'm just watching. Then, handle it, he commands coolly. Before she can move, a mountain of a man grabs Maru by the lapel. So you're the rat who took down Manager Hong? He roars. It is Kim Min-sok, the vice director of World Trade. His grip tightens. Why is a piece of trash like you walking around with Charlotte's girl? He leans in, his breath reeking of violence. Did Charlotte have your back from the very beginning? You inferior filth, he spits. This whole thing was a sha. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the tension like a blade. Who dares? Kim turns, veins bulging. But before he can finish, a hand clamps onto his cheek. With a vicious yank, he is sent screaming in pain. It is Director Cho Ki-jong. He kicks another subordinate aside, like a stray dog. Clear the way, you idiots, he bellows. He turns to Maru, his demeanor shifting instantly. My apologies for the rudeness of these fools, he says smoothly. Killing Manager Hong. That was a legendary feat. It demands respect. He bows slightly, a shark-like grin on his face. I am Cho Ki-jong, Executive Director of World Security. Let me treat you with the dignity a warrior deserves. But the truce is short-lived. Shadows lengthen as more figures emerge from the crowd. Director Cho, a voice drawls. Don't try to hog all the fun for yourself. The President and Vice President of World Investment Securities step into the light. One of them sizes Maru up. If I break the man who broke Manager Hong, doesn't that make me the strongest? The executives of the World Group circle like hyenas. He's mine, one shouts. Get back. You can have the scraps when I'm done. They argue over the right to fight Maru, as if he is already a corpse. Maru's eyes narrow. His hand drifts toward his weapon, ready to paint the temple red. But suddenly, a soft hand stops him. It is Shin Yun-young. She steps forward, her heels clicking against the stone like gunshots. Is this the best world livestock has to offer? She mocks. Watch your mouth, a man snarls. Our honor has been stained. Yun-young cuts him down with a sharp laugh. Honor? You don't understand the first thing about the glory of defeating a legend like Manager Hong. Her voice rings out, clear and commanding. You speak of avenging the dead and claiming glory, she says. But tell me, she continues, scanning the crowd. Is there any glory in a pack of dogs biting one lion? The moment you gang up on him, the honor you seek turns to dust. She gestures to Maru. This man faced Manager Hong one-on-one. He fought on the edge of death and won honorably with his own 2 hands. Her eyes narrow dangerously. Or maybe, you only found your courage now that Manager Hong is in the ground? Were you too scared to bark when he was alive? The insult strikes a nerve. Kim Min-sok roars, his face purple with rage. Shut up. I won't let an outsider mock my people. Yun-young doesn't flinch. She drops the final hammer. Go ahead, she dares them. But know this. If you kill Maru here today, you are declaring total war. There will be no honor, no glory, no profit, only destruction, she declares. If anyone here is confident enough to bear the weight of that loss, step forward. She sweeps her gaze across the frozen mob. Her lips curl in absolute contempt, just as I thought. You are all talk. The executives fall silent, their killing intent crushed by her presence. Maru watches her, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. She is powerful. Asterisk. Clap, clap, clap. Asterisk. A slow applause breaks the silence. The crowd parts for her. It is Chairwoman Wu Da-un. Impressive, she purrs, her voice like velvet wrapped around a dagger. You have your father's silver tongue, Miss Shin. She turns her gaze to Maru. The air temperature seems to drop. So, she whispers, you are the one who extinguished Manager Hong's light. She studies him, her eyes searching his soul. A smile touches her lips, then widens. It is not a smile of kindness. It is the look of a predator finding new prey. Without another word, she turns, her entourage trailing behind her. "We will meet again," she promises over her shoulder. As she vanishes, Maru exhales. "Who on earth was that?" Yun Young's assistant shivers. "That was Wu Da-un," she whispers. "The chairwoman of the World Group. And the one person you must fear above all others." The tension slowly bleeds out of the air. The assistant slips off her high heels. Together, they walk barefoot across the cold stone, approaching the heart of the temple. Finally, they arrive. The destination of their journey. They stand before the funeral altar of Hong Jianho. In the portrait, the dead man smiles a wide, defiant grin that mocks the world even from the grave. Maru stares into those painted eyes. "I didn't come here to mourn you," he says coldly. Memories flash before him, his mother's tears, the endless pain. "What you did to my family," Maru whispers, his fist clenching. "I can never forgive it. Not in this life, not in the next." The fire of vengeance still burns in his chest. "I wanted to crush you," he admits. "I wanted to take everything from you with my own two hands, but the victory tastes like ash." "So why?" Maru asks the silent portrait. "When you had the chance to kill me, why did you choose to die by my hand instead?" The old man's final words echo in his mind. Asterisk, "In the end, I'm only human too, Maru." Asterisk, Maru closes his eyes. Asterisk, "You must live your life as a human until the very end." Asterisk, "Was that your final lesson?" Manager Hong? A deep, reverent bow brings his forehead low. He whispers to the void, asking the question that haunts his soul. Why did he sacrifice himself? Why did he leave those final words behind? Maru admits the answers remain out of reach for now. Yet, a fire burns within him if he can just survive another day. He vows to uncover the truth he so desperately seeks. He speaks to Junho's spirit, his voice steady. "Rest easy now. Do not worry about me." He rises, eyes burning with newfound resolve. Armed with every lesson his mentor taught him, he swears a blood oath he will crush every enemy in his path and survive at all costs. Outside the temple, Shin Yunyong's voice cuts through the silence. Wind whips through her hair as she issues her decree. "From the moment you step through that door, you belong to me. You shall be my sword." A faint, knowing smile touches Maru's lips. He accepts his fate. Bathed in the light of the rising sun, he walks alongside Yunyong's assistant. The roar of helicopter blades slices the air, signaling the start of their journey. Left behind in the temple courtyard, Director Cho Ki-jong watches with cold eyes as the aircraft ascends into the sky. Smoke curls from the cigarette clutched between his lips as he murmurs Maru's name. With a casual flick, he tosses the butt aside, mentally adding Shin Yun-yong to his kill list. As the embers hit the ground, he runs a hand through his hair. A sinister grin spreads across his face. Things are finally about to get interesting. The majestic silhouette of Hotel Charlotte dominates the skyline. 1 week later, Shin Yun-yong strides through the lobby like a queen returning to her throne. Staff members bow in reverence, but a subordinate rushes forward, panic in his eyes. He reports a catastrophe brewing. Those people are causing trouble again. He stammers that they are attempting to crack the main safe once more. Yun-yong sighs, rubbing her temples as she remembers. These chaotic elements are Maru's colleagues. She orders them to handle it quietly, but before she can finish, another employee bursts in with yet another crisis. He points out frantically that the woman has started raiding the guests' food. Yet, strangely, amidst the absolute chaos, their presence brings a bizarre sense of warmth to the cold hotel. 2 guards bow deeply as the president approaches the heavy doors of the VIP suite. She steps inside with her assistant. There, Maru stands beside his sister, Haru, next to a hospital bed. Yun-yong offers a gentle smile and greets the young girl, but Haru pulls her aside, urgency in her voice. She knows something is wrong. Her brother refuses to tell her the truth. Yun-yong glances sharply at Maru. From across the room, his eyes lock with hers, confirming his resolve. He will take those secrets to his grave. Maru gently urges his mother to rest, but she shifts uneasily, clearly uncomfortable with the imposing presence of President Shin Yun-yong. Yun-yong steps forward, reassuring Haru and promising to do everything in her power. The mother offers a weak smile of gratitude, begging her to look after her son. Yun-yong takes the older woman's hand warmly. "Do not worry," she says softly. "Maru has been an invaluable strength to me." Suddenly, the assistant barges back in, face pale. A massive problem has arisen. Yun-yong sighs, assuming it's the usual suspects. Who is it this time? But her expression freezes when she hears the answer. The vice president has arrived. Her own brother, Shin Young-yu, is in the building. Meanwhile, at the police station, Detective Han Tae-sik stands before an investigation board, grimly confirming the death of manager Hong. He points out that Hong was the key suspect in a massive trafficking operation. The trail leads to a burned-down facility in Japan and a missing witness. And now, the World Organization is hunting for a specific man. The detective's eyes bore into the photo at the center of the board. Maru. He mutters, questioning just how deep this man is buried in the chaos. Suddenly, a rookie detective bursts into the room, breathless. He has a lead. Thrusting his phone forward, he reveals a photo. They have finally identified the mystery woman standing beside Maru. Hante-six's eyes widen in shock. It is Shin Yun-young, the president of Hotel Charlotte. Back at the hotel, Yun-young storms toward the crisis, fury radiating from her at her brother's audacity. Inside, her brother lounges with a woman on his lap. He turns, a smirk playing on his lips as he notices his sister. He sits surrounded by women, demanding that the president herself pour his drink. Maru steps forward, his voice cold as ice. Shall I end him right now? Yun-young raises a hand to stop him. She grabs a heavy bottle of wine, her eyes flashing with dangerous authority. A terrifying smile graces her lips. If the vice president desires it, she purrs, I shall serve him myself. The red wine begins to flow. She upends the bottle, pouring the crimson liquid directly over her brother's head. As it drips down his face, she asks sarcastically, Tell me, brother, how does it taste? She doesn't stop pouring, her smile never faltering. Her voice drops to a lethal whisper. I looked the other way when you bowed down to the World Organization, but now, her eyes narrow. You dare to openly mingle with their dogs in my hotel? From the nearby sofa, Executive Director Cho Ki-jong takes a calm sip of his drink. How rude, he comments, sounding bored. Yun-young slams the empty bottle onto the table. I understand your bitterness, she sneers. It must hurt knowing father intended to give the entire group to me. She accuses him of craving her throne, of inviting wolves into their home while their father still breathes. Glaring with utter disdain, she asks, Have you lost the ability to tell right from wrong? This is exactly why father chose me over you. Her brother, Shin Yong-yu, mutters her name through gritted teeth, red wine dripping from his nose like blood. Suddenly, his expression shifts. He licks the wine from his lips. Delicious. He laughs darkly. A waste to drink alone. He turns to the woman beside him. Madness flashes in his eyes. He grabs the woman, forcing the bottle toward her lips in a violent display of dominance. Shim Yun-young watches in stony silence, her expression unreadable. Her brother screams, demanding absolute obedience to his orders. Suddenly, the air shatters along with the whiskey bottle he hurls against the wall. Shim Myung-yu steps closer, venom dripping from his voice. He accuses her of delusional arrogance, claiming she already sees herself as the president just because of their father's appointment. A cruel smirk twists his lips. He reminds her that their father is essentially a living corpse, and until the old man takes his last breath, she inherits absolutely nothing. Yun-young offers a subtle, dangerous smile. She advises him to fight and struggle all he wants, but warns him to watch his back at all times. Her eyes turn cold as ice. She warns that whatever schemes he is cooking up, she is more than capable of returning the favor. Shim Myung-yu points a trembling finger at his sister, laughing in mockery. Suddenly, a booming, exaggerated laugh erupts from the sofa. Director Choi Ki-jong makes his presence known. He sarcastically remarks on how touching it is to see such sibling love. Yun-young's smile doesn't falter as she tells President Yu's lapdog to know his place. This is Charlotte Group business. Fury flashes across Choi Ki-jong's face. With a sickening crunch, he crushes the glass tumbler in his bare hand. His aura darkens instantly. He corrects her, emphasizing the title of Madam President Yu. He steps forward, noting that the young, aspiring president seems to lack basic manners. He raises his hand to deliver a humiliating slap. But the moment his arm moves, a blade flashes in its path. Maru intercepts the strike, his body becoming a shield for Yun-young. He turns to Choi Ki-jong, eyes burning with killing intent, and orders him to leave before he takes his life. The two warriors face off. Maru keeps his knife leveled at the director's throat. Choi Ki-jong looks down at his hand, genuinely surprised to have been stopped and even cut. Instead of anger, a look of pure, twisted interest washes over his face. As Maru glares with murderous focus, Choi Ki-jong decides this boy is far more intriguing than the rumors suggested. He accepts the challenge without hesitation. A sadistic smile spreads across his face. He decides breaking this kid will be worth the effort. He licks the blood from his cut, finding Maru's flavor interesting. His grin widens into something feral. He decides this will be fun. Then, with an explosive burst of speed, he charges, roaring that crushing Maru will be child's play. Maru blocks the heavy strike with his knife, but his arms are instantly locked up. He glances at his own body, shocked to find new wounds appearing without understanding how he was hit. Choi Ki-jong taunts him mercilessly. He demands Maru show off the skills he supposedly learned from the legendary Hong Joon-ho. Maru realizes with horror that the director is cutting him with bare hands. The pressure is suffocating, reminding him of Hong Joon-ho's monstrous strength. He knows raw power is terrifying, but he refuses to believe it surpasses his master's. With a fluid spin, he readjusts his grip on the knife. He faces his opponent, convinced that technique can overcome brute force. Outside, the hotel staff frantically evacuates the floor, apologizing for the chaos erupting within. Shim Yun-young watches the battle unfold with growing dread. She realizes that despite lurking in the shadows, Choi represents the true martial might of the global underworld. Her eyes track the rapid exchange of lethal blows. A question haunts her mind: can Maru actually defeat a monster like this? In the heat of the clash, Choi Ki-jong effortlessly dodges a strike. He mocks the boy, asking if that move was stolen from Choi Dal-wee's technique book. Choi attacks again, bored, claiming this isn't enough to satisfy his hunger. Maru weaves past the strike and snatches a heavy whiskey bottle from the table. He spins like a top, smashing the bottle toward his enemy. Choi wonders aloud if the boy has also memorized the dirty street fighting of the Baekdo gang. With a thunderous shout, Choi Ki-jong catches the bottle mid-swing with one hand. He uses the momentum to launch a counterattack, admitting Maru is more entertaining than he expected. Maru shifts his grip again, adapting instantly. He unleashes a flurry of lightning-fast cuts. Choi raises an eyebrow, asking if he also knows the assassin arts of Kim Young-soo. Choi blocks the razor-sharp blade with a casual lift of his elbow. He comments that Hong Joon-ho must have been desperate. To teach a single disciple so many stolen styles shows deep affection or deep desperation. He dismisses the techniques as cheap parlor tricks and hammers a devastating combo into Maru's chest. The impact sends Maru flying backward, staggering to keep his footing. Choi Ki-jong calmly lights a cigarette, finding the entire duel absurd. He takes a long drag, smoke curling from his lips. He questions how a brat with these mixed-up skills ever managed to defeat a legend like Hong Joon-ho. While Choi monologues, Maru leaps onto a table to gain the high ground. He launches himself from above, convinced that even if his enemy is stronger, he can still win through strategy. Choi looks up, eyes filled with disappointment. Maru realizes too late that he needed space, but he just walked into a trap. Choi Ki-jong snatches him out of the air like a fly. He asks scornfully if this desperate aerial attack is truly all the boy has left. A brutal strike to the ribs crunches bone. Maru collapses to his knees, coughing violently from the shockwave of the blow. With a cigarette still dangling from his lips, Choi delivers the cold truth. Maru didn't defeat Hong Joon-ho. The old master let him win. He concludes that Hong Joon-ho must have gone senile to lose to someone this weak on purpose. Enraged by the insult to his master, Maru screams and charges. Knife raised high, Choi raises a single hand, promising to teach him the lesson Hong couldn't. He catches Maru's wrist mid-strike with terrifying ease. His grip tightens on Maru's chest. With a single, fluid motion, he hurls the boy through the air, declaring that this is what real skill looks like. Maru hits the ground hard, spitting blood and saliva as the wind is knocked out of him. Choi approaches, mildly impressed that the boy is still conscious. He wonders if this stubborn spirit is why Hong Joon-ho had such a soft spot for him. Trembling, Maru forces himself up. He glares at the towering figure and rasps that he has heard plenty of rumors about the director too. He spits out a taunt, calling him a pathetic, one-eyed dog who used to be well-trained. The insult strikes a nerve. Choi Ki-jong's expression shatters into pure, unbridled rage. The beast is unleashed. Choi attacks with volcanic violence, kicking Maru square in the chest. The boy is sent flying back like a rag doll, blood spraying from the devastating impact. Rage consumes Choi Ki-jong. He unleashes another devastating strike, his voice cracking with fury as he demands answers. What do you know about him? I was the only one meant to destroy Joon-ho. He slams Maru into the concrete with earth-shattering force, screaming that a brat like him never deserved to inherit that legacy. Maru feels the crushing weight of reality. He is completely outmatched in strength, speed, and experience. Suddenly, a heartbreaking vision flashes in his mind: his mother and sister, lying helpless in that hospital room. Despair claws at his throat. How can he possibly protect them when monsters like Choi Ki-jong walk this earth? Choi glares down like a predator eyeing its prey. If you can't get stronger, he roars, winding up for a final lethal blow, then just disappear from this world. From the sidelines, director Shim Yong-yu cheers maniacally, urging the beast to finish the job. Do it, and the company's shares are yours, he promises, but his greed is cut short. A menacing silhouette materializes behind the director, freezing the air in the room. Choi halts his attack mid-swing, his eyes locking onto the intruder. I'm seeing your face far too often these days. Cigarette dangling loosely from his lips, Detective Han Ha-sik grins. Don't mind me, he drawls, leveling his revolver straight at Choi Ki-jong. I'll just carry on with my plan too. The dark barrel of the revolver fills the frame, radiating danger. But if you take someone down in front of a cop, Han warns, his eyes narrowing, I'll have to take you down with him. Knowing the game is up, Choi slowly raises his hands in mock surrender. As backup swamps the scene, Choi scoffs sarcastically at the arriving officers. Relax. I was just teaching my junior a few life lessons. As he is escorted away, Shim Eun-woo screams in protest that they are letting him walk free, but Detective Han leans in, a smirk playing on his lips. "You're getting slow, old man. That kid actually managed to tag you," Han whispers. Choi looks down at his chest, genuine confusion clouding his face. There, stamped on his shirt, is a dusty handprint. The memory of Maru's desperate punch comes rushing back. A chill runs down his spine. The kid didn't just punch him, he copied Choi's own technique the instant he saw it. "He copied my skills perfectly?" Choi's shock turns to twisted delight. This boy is a monster in the making. Is that why Junho was so obsessed with him? Cold metal cuffs snap onto Maru's wrists as the police officer begins reciting his rights. Dragged away by 2 officers, Maru listens to the charges. But he doesn't hang his head. His eyes burn with an intense, unyielding fire. "Maru!" Shim Eun-woo rushes forward, her voice breaking through the chaos as the police restrain him. "Don't worry, I'll get you out," she vows. But Maru remains calm. "Just, please take care of Mom and Naru for me." Watching from the shadows, Choi Ki-jong sneers. "Still worrying about family? You have a long road ahead before you can rival Junho." A cruel smile spreads across his face. "Maybe I should just wipe out the entire Charlotte crew and your precious family while I'm at it." Maru freezes. He turns, locking eyes with the devil. "Choi Ki-jong," he snarls. "Even if it kills me, I swear I will end you with my own 2 hands." "I'm counting the days, kid," Choi laughs, watching with amusement as the guards shove Maru toward the patrol car. Moments later, Chef and his men skid to a halt. "Director Shim, what the hell is going on? Why did they take Maru?" Elsewhere, Woo Dan is frantic, demanding that Kim Yang launch a rescue mission immediately. Shim Eun-woo grimly explains the situation. The police ignored the chaos caused by Director Shim Yong-yu and only targeted Maru. "World Group has rats inside the force," she hisses. "Why should we save that butcher?" Woo Dan snaps, bitterness surfacing. "I lost my job and got hunted down because of him." The crew protests instantly. "We've bled together. We can't just abandon him now. If he just died, we'd all be safe," she retorts. But the men roar back. "That is exactly why we have to save him." "Do you think the food keeps coming by magic?" one shouts. "Maru is the only reason you get to eat your fill here at Charlotte." Woo Dan freezes, stunned. Kim Yang places a gentle hand on Shim Eun-woo's shoulder. "Is it true? My meals were because of that butcher?" Woo Dan stammers. Shim Eun-woo nods. "I only treated you like family because you were one of Maru's people." The truth hits Woo Dan like a slap in the face. She had no idea. "Hey, where are you going?" a subordinate asks. Woo Dan shoves him aside, eyes blazing. "Shut up, I'm gonna bring Han Maru back home." The scene shifts to the gloom of the police station at dusk. Maru sits in silence across from Detective Han inside the interrogation room. Maru calculates his odds. Eun-woo will pull strings, sure, but Choi Ki-jong won't just sit idly by while he walks free. "You've changed, kid," Han observes, studying him closely. "Now, let's talk about the Ribs case and the murder of Director Hong. We found traces of blood from World Livestock employees at your place," Han continues, his voice devoid of warmth. "And now your boss is dead." He leans in, the air thick with tension. "Tell me, what exactly is your relationship with World Group?" Crushing his cigarette, Han sighs. "I want to help you, Maru, but look at you." He gestures to Maru's hardened expression. "How can I help someone wearing the face of a man who's committed dozens of sins?" Suddenly, the heavy iron door swings open. Superintendent An strides in, slamming a food tray onto the table. "Detective, you plan on starving the suspect? Even criminals need to eat to live." An scolds. Han waves him off. "Just leave it." As An turns to go, he leans down, whispering a chilling warning. The mayor is absolutely furious. Police arrested Maru with a weapon in hand. Yet, they had absolutely zero concrete evidence to pin on him. Detective Han leaves the room, instructing Superintendent An to watch the suspect. He tells An to let the prisoner eat, and Maru accepts the meal without hesitation. The moment the heavy metal door clicks shut, Superintendent An's demeanor shifts completely. He scoffs at how uptight Detective Han is. Turning to Maru, a sinister smirk plays on his lips. He tells Maru to relax, revealing that his superiors pulled strings to get him in here, and slides the premium lunchbox forward, boasting it is restaurant quality. He even offers to feed Maru like a child. Meanwhile, inside the World Group's boardroom, the atmosphere is suffocating. Executive Woo Dan slams her hand down, calling the situation utterly ridiculous. She ruthlessly berates her subordinate for failing a simple extraction mission. Instead of results, he got arrested for a public brawl. She then tears into the vice president for lowering their corporate value by harassing female employees. The chairwoman of the World Group glares at them with eyes like ice. She asks if they are begging for her to destroy them with her own hands. She explains that the chaos at the Charlotte Hotel has made the media question Chairwoman Shin's leadership. Her hands are tied, and her patience is wearing thin. Wu Dan turns to Vice President Shim, ordering him to seize control of the board of directors immediately. The man bows, accepting the command in fear. She then locks eyes with Director Choi Ki-jong. She warns him not to interfere, stating that his emotional outbursts will only lead to catastrophic mistakes. Wu Dan's gaze pierces through him as she asks if he has any complaints. The tension in the room is thick enough to choke on. Back in the interrogation room, the vibe turns dark and grips Maru's shoulder, suggesting they have some twisted fun. Maru realizes instantly this superintendent is a world group dog. Anne confirms Maru's suspicion with a cruel laugh, but he mocks him, asking what a prisoner in handcuffs can possibly do with that knowledge. Elsewhere in the station, three men stride down a hallway cleared by Detective Anne. Every camera has been disabled. The shadows are their allies. Their leader checks his watch. For the next 30 minutes, this area is a lawless zone. No one will know what transpires behind these doors. He reaches for the handle, arrogant in his belief. This is how a true powerhouse wields authority. He wonders why Director Choi found this task so difficult. The door swings open. Immediately, the metallic scent of fresh blood hits his nose. It is pitch black. He spots a figure in the chair and assumes it is Maru. Irritated by the darkness, the leader grabs the figure's shoulder roughly. He barks at them to wake up right now. He warns that the chairwoman is waiting, but as the head lolls back lifelessly, the truth is revealed. It is Superintendent An, slumped and broken in the chair. The leader freezes, his eyes widening in pure shock. This was not part of the plan. One of his lackeys checks Anne's pulse. His voice trembles as he announces they just killed a detective inside a police station. The body is still warm. The leader lights a cigarette to calm his nerves. He deduces the target could not have gone far. Rage burns in his eyes as he orders his men to hunt him down. He addresses his army of thugs. They must find Maru before the other factions of the group intervene. The order is given to cut him down on sight. Maru moves through the unsuspecting crowd outside, like a ghost. The leader's voice echoes over the comms, granting permission to slice him in half. There is only one condition: bring him back still breathing. Meanwhile, Kim Yang sighs as she buttons up a stolen police uniform. She adjusts her cap, grumbling under her breath. If it were not for the promise of Charlotte's premium buffet, she would not care if Maru lived or died. Stomping down the hallway, she calls him a nuisance. She complains that she feels like his mother, always cleaning up his messes. She clenches her fist, deciding she will just crush him and stage it as an accident. Standing before the interrogation room, she declares that judgment time has arrived. Kim Yang extends her baton with a flourish. She leaps into the air, ready to deliver a blow of relentless justice. She demands he present his head for smashing, but instead of a cowering victim, she finds Maru calmly holding a lunchbox lid as a shield. He has Anne by the collar, completely dominating the situation. Kim Yang stares, calling him a crazy bastard for taking out a detective in a Republic of Korea station. Maru explains calmly that the detective was a lackey for the World Group. He knew the hit squad was already on their way to silence him. Since he could not let it slide, he decided to frame them for the murder. He smirks, telling her he is glad she arrived right on time. He gives her a new mission: make the police believe the World Group was behind this mess. For someone of her skill, it should be child's play. Kim Yang grabs him by the collar, shaking him violently. She screams that she only came here for the buffet. She is furious that he expects her to clean up a crime scene on top of saving him. This was not the deal. She yells that she refuses, even if it kills her. But then, Maru whispers the magic words, Hanwoo beef. Maru says framing them is nothing compared to crossing the border. He promises to buy her unlimited top-grade Hanwoo beef. Drool instantly forms at the corner of her mouth. She asks if he thinks he can buy her off with capitalist temptations. Maru adds free lifelong meals at Charlotte's buffet to the pot. Kim Yang grabs his hand immediately, shaking it with vigor. Deal accepted. She tells him to leave everything to her capable hands. She flashes a thumbs up from the doorway. She declares she will take these kinds of deals any day. Maru tells her to handle the cleanup and call him later. With a confident stride, he states he is on his way to Charlotte's. The real game is just beginning. Meanwhile, the group's leader is fuming. He is certain Maru is close, and he knows rival members are also on the hunt. He screams at his men to find the target first. The leader demands they bring Maru back, breathing, no matter how broken he is. The thugs roar in agreement, the hunt intensifying. Perched high in the shadows near the ceiling, Kim Yang let out a silent breath. That was way too close. They had arrived much faster than she had calculated, cutting off her easy escape. Her eyes narrowed as she spotted Captain Kim standing below. Of all the people to show up, it had to be him. She lamented that the one man she hated most in this world had come to ruin her plans. The urge to end his life right there surged through her, but she knew covering up his murder would be impossible. No, chaos was the better play. She decided to incite a massive commotion, slip away in the confusion, and rescue Hyun-woo. But her plan shattered instantly. Captain Kim roared her name. Before she could react, a heavy blow struck her. The impact was devastating, hurling her down from the ceiling and slamming her onto the cold floor. Groaning, Kim Yang scrambled to her feet. She scoffed, asking if he had eyes in the back of his head. Captain Kim just sneered, telling her that her distinct scent was radiating through the entire room like a beacon. His eyes swept over her outfit, mocking her little police disguise. Kim Yang spat back immediately, calling him a pervert. She remarked on how truly amazing it was that he remained so utterly disgusting after all this time. Captain Kim laughed, asking how on earth he was supposed to stop his heart from fluttering for her, but his amusement vanished the second he noticed the dark muzzle of a gun pointed straight at his chest. Bang! A gunshot tore through the silence of the hallway. Detective Han spun around, his sharp eyes narrowing as he demanded the source of the noise. A nervous officer suggested something might have just fallen, but Han remained stone-faced. He turned slowly toward Officer Lee, coolly sliding a cigarette between his lips to calm his nerves. His order was simple and chilling. Run. The young officer froze, blinking in total confusion at the sudden command to flee. Ignoring the boy's confusion, the detective snatched the ringing phone from his pocket and signaled for the officer to follow. He answered with a growl, identifying himself as Detective Han Tak from the Narcotics and Organized Crime Unit. A voice on the other end froze his blood. It was Maru. The detective's eyes widened in genuine shock as the man he thought was captured identified himself. Han demanded to know how he was making this call and if that gunshot was his doing. But Maru, already safe outside, replied calmly, there was no need for that. It seemed Kim Yang was simply doing her job. The detective frowned, barking into the phone to explain exactly what the hell he meant. Maru revealed the grim truth. He had escaped. The World Group had infiltrated the interrogation room to silence him, but he survived, solely thanks to the sacrifice of Detective Ann. His voice turned cold. The enemy's presence inside the station proved there was a spy within the force, and that was why he still did not trust Detective Han. Maru stated bluntly that he couldn't determine if Han was a World Group lackey or a proud officer of the Korean police. The line between friend and foe was blurred. With a final ultimatum, he declared he would reveal everything only once the detective had earned his trust. The line went dead. Back in the hallway, a bullet punched a hole through the ceiling tiles. Kim Yang fired wildly into the air, screaming at the top of her lungs that the World Group was launching an assault. Captain Kim roared, calling her absolutely insane as he swerved to dodge. He grumbled, complaining that he really thought the ceiling debris was going to crush him. The captain stomped the floor in frustration, realizing she was committed to this act. With a burst of speed, he rushed in to engage her in close quarters. Kim Yang hissed that she would love to finish him off, but she had more pressing matters to attend to. She unleashed a lightning-fast punch, connecting squarely with his jaw. She smirked, telling him he should be on his knees, thanking her that he only took a fist to the mouth today. She followed up with a barrage of strikes, eyes burning with hatred. The man laughed, wiping blood from his lip. He taunted that it had been a while since she hit him like that, claiming it felt good. But then, his hand snapped out and caught her fist mid-swing. Captain Kim's grip was like a vice. He sneered, whispering that compared to the old days, her technique had lost its edge. With a massive heave, he threw her violently to the ground. Sprawled on the floor, Kim Yang spat out an insult, calling him a total psycho. She groaned, complaining that he was still relying on that cheap chin punch tactic. Her eyes flashed with defiance. She challenged him, snarling that if he was going to hit her, he better put some real back into it. Captain Kim raised a heavy boot, asking if she really thought she could escape with just a scolding. He stomped down with bone-breaking force. Kim Yang rolled aside at the last second, springing to her feet, and calling his fighting style dirty. Enough games. Kim Yang reached to her belt and unsheathed a wicked combat dagger. She gripped the hilt firmly, a dangerous smile playing on her lips. Now, things were going to get good. Captain Kim charged forward without hesitation, mocking her weapon choice. He declared that if she wanted to play with toys, he was going to pull something out too. A flash of steel appeared in his hand. He revealed his own blade, making a crude joke about whether she could handle the size. She just beckoned him to come and bleed. But suddenly, a shout froze them both. The lethal dance halted instantly. Both fighters turned to see Officer Lee standing at the end of the hall, hands trembling as he aimed his service pistol. He screamed for them to put their hands up. "Police!" he yelled, his voice cracking. He questioned if they were insane enough to brawl inside a station, and threatened to open fire if they moved a single muscle. Captain Kim rolled his eyes, exasperated. He asked if they were suddenly in America, wondering why every single person he met today felt the need to point a gun at his face. As the officer repeated the order to freeze, the captain just sighed. He called out to the rookie with zero fear in his voice. Kim glared down the barrel, ordering the kid to lower the weapon. He scoffed, asking if an amateur who had never taken a life really had the guts to threaten him. The officer insisted he would shoot. Bang! A gunshot cut the captain's sentence in half. A bullet tore straight into his shoulder, proving the young man wasn't bluffing after all. The recoil seemed to shock the shooter more than the victim. Officer Lee stood frozen, eyes wide, struggling to process what he had just done. Clutching the bleeding wound, the captain roared in disbelief. He screamed at the rookie for actually pulling the trigger, demanding to know what he would have done if the aim had been slightly higher. The young officer stammered, shaking his head frantically. He insisted he didn't shoot, completely bewildered by the sudden violence. Suddenly, a shadow loomed behind the rookie. It was Detective Han, gun smoking in his hand. He looked at the captain and asked what all the complaining was about, leaving Officer Lee stunned. Detective Han kept his weapon trained on the target. He asked if the captain wanted to try acting tough again. He couldn't believe they were causing such a scene in broad daylight, and scoffed at the idea that a detective could be fooled so easily. Han spat a curse at the World Group thugs. He asked coldly if he needed to put another bullet in him to wake him up to reality. Pushing past the chaos, Han stormed into the interrogation room. The sight that greeted him stopped him cold. Detective Ann's body lay motionless on the floor. Officer Lee stammered from the doorway, whispering that she was dead. But Han shook his head grimly. He concluded she didn't die from the initial attack. No, she had been brutally beaten to death with a blunt object. He declares that the World Gang has finally crossed the line of no return. Detective Han demands the killer's identity. Kim Young instantly raises her hands, claiming she is just an officer who stepped in to stop the chaos. Han trains his gun on Captain Kim. His logic is cold and simple. A fellow officer would never slaughter their own. The captain vehemently denies the murder, stunned that the situation has spiraled into this living nightmare. Kim Young seizes the moment, accusing him of silencing the detective to cover his tracks after she witnessed his brutality. He roars at her to stop spewing lies, insisting Anne was already dead when he arrived. But Han cuts him off with a chilling command to shut his mouth. The detective issues a final warning, one more word, and he pulls the trigger on Kim Soo-yeon. He declares that from this second, Kim Soo-yeon is under arrest as the prime suspect in the murder of a police officer. As Kim Yang celebrates her victory, the captain is dragged away, screaming that they cannot arrest him without a shred of evidence. Han orders Kim Young to file a full report. She agrees with a crisp salute, but that simple gesture makes him freeze. He questions her bizarre form, and sudden panic flashes across her face. Realizing the truth, he orders her capture. She bolts, screaming that everyone in North Korea salutes like that. Captain Kim points a shaking finger, demanding if Han believes him now. Han just aims the gun back at him. He spoke more than one word. Meanwhile, Cho's team brainstorms ridiculous rescue plans, suggesting everything from steamrollers to missile strikes. Shim Yun-young answers her phone. A voice on the other end identifies himself as Maru, leaving her stunned. Her men swarm around, asking if it is really Mr. Maru, and how on earth he survived. Cheers erupt. He escaped, proving their faith in Kim Yang was not misplaced. Maru explains that Kim Yang broke him out, though she might be a little delayed cleaning up the mess she caused. He was heading for the Charlotte Hotel, but he has a tail. Yun-young instantly demands his location and the enemy count. He replies that he is in a crowded district near the station, currently tracked by 3 or 4 hostiles, but he senses more lurking in the shadows. Leaving them for her to deal with would be too dangerous. Without missing a beat, he snatches a piece of fruit from a passing truck. He decides to end this right here. Yun-young promises reinforcements are already on the way. Maru smashes the fruit into a pursuer's face. He orders her to stay back. She needs to secure the hotel instead. Trying to keep a low profile, he chokes another attacker, slamming him into a wall while warning that this crowd is about to turn into chaos. Yun-young asks for orders. Maru's answer is simple. He handles the bodies. He tasks her with the cleanup and controlling the panic once the dust settles. A blade flashes. Maru counters instantly, stabbing the attacker while demanding an extraction vehicle. As the thug drops, Yun-young agrees. Maru realizes their tactic. They are not swarming him, they are stalling him. If he bolts now, every hidden enemy will be forced to reveal themselves. Determination burns in his eyes. He will slaughter them all to return to the Charlotte Hotel and protect his family. A massive blade swings for his head. Maru weaves past the deadly strike. He turns their own weapon against them, leaving the man and his axe in the dirt, but more goons trap him in a dead-end alley. Silence falls. The alley is empty, save for a discarded weapon. Maru emerges, injured but standing tall. He leaves a trail of unconscious bodies for Yun-young to clean up. He just needs that car. A window rolls down beside him. The driver peers out, asking if he is Mr. Maru. With a welcoming smile, the man invites him in, promising a swift ride to the Charlotte. His phone rings. It is Yun-young. The driver smirks about the impeccable timing. Maru answers, thanking her for the ride. But on the line, her voice is filled with confusion. She asks if he is already inside a vehicle. She tells him her driver is just leaving now. There must be a mistake. She asks if he is okay. Maru calmly confirms he is, hangs up, and locks eyes with the driver in the rearview mirror. He asks if the man is with the World Gang. The driver's friendly mask dissolves into a sinister grin. The pedal hits the metal. Tires screech like banshees as the car tears away into the distance. Back at the station, Detective Han lights a cigarette, the smoke swirling around a single question. Why Maru? Why would a director target a low-level employee? As he stares out the window, a dark suspicion forms there is a mole in the force. Just as Maru predicted, chaos reigned outside the precinct. Captain Kim Soo-hyun was absolutely losing his mind, screaming about the lunatic cop who had nearly put a bullet in him multiple times. Maru stormed out of the police station, grumbling under his breath that the system was broken and there was nothing left to be done legally. Inside, Detective Ham watched him go, with a grim smirk, stating that sometimes you have no choice but to return to the old, violent ways. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a car tearing down the highway at sunset. Sensing the danger, Maru unbuckled his seatbelt. "Do you want us both to die today?" he roared, delivering a savage kick to the driver. "Go to hell alone." Violence erupted inside the speeding vehicle. Maru unleashed a barrage of kicks until the driver lost control, sending the car skidding violently across the asphalt. The metal beast slammed directly into a utility pole. The car finally ground to a halt, black smoke billowing ominously from the wreckage. Maru crawled from the twisted scrap metal, clutching his bleeding head. "That was too close," he muttered, but his instincts screamed that survival was the least of his worries. His mind raced. They shouldn't have known his route, yet they tracked him to this exact coordinate with terrifying precision. Had they anticipated his escape from the start? He checked his jacket collar, and his fingers brushed against cold plastic, a hidden location tracker. The realization hit him like a truck. This wasn't an assassination attempt. It was a distraction. They were buying time to keep him away from the real target. Panic flared in his chest. Shim Yun-young was in mortal danger. He immediately dialed Officer Kim Young, barking, "Where is she?" If they went to this length to stall him, the situation was critical. The enemy's blade was aimed squarely at one person, Shim Yun-young. The chairwoman of the Charlotte Hotel was walking into a trap. He dialed her number, praying she would pick up. Shim Yun-young answered, her voice trembling. "Are you okay?" she asked, but Maru cut her off, demanding to know her situation. She admitted chaos was unfolding around her. "My father's condition suddenly worsened," she explained. "I had to rush to the hospital immediately. It was a diversion." While she was lured away, Vice Chairman Shim Yun-ju had called an emergency board meeting. They were rushing to take the throne while the queen was absent. She begged Maru to send his location for extraction, telling him to stay safe. Maru gripped the phone until his knuckles turned white. The World Group and Shim Yun-ju were in league together. He knew the stakes. If Shim Yun-young fell today, his own family would be the next to face the executioner. He had to protect her at all costs. But staring at the crushed tracker, doubt crept in. How could he reach her in time? His hand clenched into a fist of pure resolve. A crazy plan formed in his mind. He dialed Officer Kim Young back. "Give me your location, now." Meanwhile, Captain Kim Soo-hyun was venting his rage, smashing his fist into one subordinate's face and kicking another. "How did you fail to capture Han Maru?" His men trembled in fear as the captain screamed, demanding to know why the tracker signal had gone dark. "Detective On was supposed to plant it perfectly," he roared. Just then, a tech officer shouted out they had reacquired Maru's signal. The subordinate hesitated, face pale. "Captain, you need to see this." Kim Soo-hyun snatched the phone, wondering what trick Maru was pulling now. The signal was moving across the map at impossible speed directly over the river. "Is he flying?" The captain stared in disbelief. "The kid has officially gone insane." High above the city, Officer Kim Young screamed Maru's name in terror. Maru was soaring through the sky, utilizing a high-tech wingsuit to cut through the air like a falcon. He touched down at the rendezvous point, where Officer Kim immediately grabbed him by the collar. "Explain yourself before I arrest you." "Yoon-young is in danger," Maru said, his eyes burning with intensity. "I'll keep my promise once she's safe." He shoved a helmet and flight suit into her hands. They stood on the precipice of a skyscraper. "Ready? Run," Maru commanded. Officer Kim groaned. "Why is your solution always running or jumping? Is my life a joke to you?" she screamed, but she took the leap of faith, plunging off the building alongside him. As they glided between the skyscrapers of the city, Officer Kim swore a blood oath that she would kill him if they survived this. The hospital loomed ahead, the final battlefield. Inside the VIP ward, Shim Yun-young confronted the medical staff. "You said he was stable yesterday." Her father lay motionless, hooked up to life support. The chairwoman's eyes narrowed. "Did anyone unexpected visit him? Tell me the truth." One doctor broke under the pressure. Vice Chairman Shim Yun-ju. "He was here earlier." The puzzle pieces clicked. He had tampered with her father's condition to force her out of the company. "Let's go," she told her bodyguards. "We're leaving." She realized his endgame was a hostile takeover of the board. She rushed to the door, desperate to get to headquarters, but the handle wouldn't budge. "Locked. It's sealed from the outside," her bodyguard shouted. Then, Horror set in as thick gray smoke began to seep from under the doorframe. Outside the room, masked assassins had neutralized her guards and were sealing the exits. They weren't just trapping her, they were burning her alive. Back at the corporate headquarters, Shim Yunju sat at the head of the table. The CEO is late to her own execution, he sneered. Grounds for immediate disqualification. He threw his feet up on the mahogany table, the picture of arrogant victory. Why wait for a corpse? He demanded the vote begin immediately, but one courageous director spoke up, whispering that they should wait since the meeting was called on such short notice. Murmurs filled the room. Chairwoman Shim is never late, another member noted. Something must be wrong. Yunju slammed his hand down. Proceed. My presence is authority enough. We don't need her. A senior director stood up, unable to stomach the insolence. You act like a king after crashing our stock prices? Do you take us for fools? Accusations flew across the boardroom like daggers. One director dared to voice the darkest rumor of them all, that he was plotting to sell the entire group to their rivals. World. Rage flared in the accuser's eyes, calling him a chaotic force of destruction. Shim Yunju didn't hesitate. He lunged, seizing the director by the collar, his voice dripping with sarcastic venom as he admitted to being exactly the trouble they feared. With a predator's stare, Yunju demanded to know who had the audacity to whisper behind his back. Who dared to claim he was handing their legacy over to World Group? He shoved the man aside and turned to the table, eyes burning with manic intensity. He claimed it wasn't him getting cozy with the enemy, but Shim Yun-young who was betraying them all. His voice rose to a fever pitch. He declared himself the martyr, the only soul willing to sacrifice everything to save the company, screaming at their blindness. The board members weren't buying it. They called him shameless, a desperate man who had already lost the war for succession. A sharp click of a tongue cut through the air, pure disapproval. Yunju snapped, bellowing at the directors to shut their mouths if they were too ignorant to grasp the true state of affairs. He challenged them, asking if they knew the name of the real destroyer. He thumped his chest, proclaiming that his work with Charlotte Chemicals was the only lifeline keeping the group from sinking. Then he turned his wrath on Shim Yun-young. He questioned her worth, accusing her of being an empty vessel who had contributed absolutely nothing to their empire. But before he could brand her the ultimate culprit, chaos erupted. The boardroom doors burst open with a deafening crash, and a body flew into the room, landing in a heap. A heavy silence fell as Captain Kim So-yeon and his squad stepped over the threshold. The tracker signal had not lied. It had led them straight to the heart of the conspiracy. The captain scanned the room, his eyes narrowing as he took in the trembling executives. He asked if the intel was correct, disappointed to see only a gathering of frightened old men instead of Maru. He suspected their target had slipped away. He barked an order to recheck the signal, but his subordinate shoved the device forward. The blip was pulsing right on top of them. He was here. A cruel smile touched the captain's lips. Maru was playing hide-and-seek. He commanded his men to tear the place apart, no corner left unchecked. Meanwhile, outside the glass and steel fortress, Maru clung to the sheer face of the building. Su-yun watched from a distance, muttering complaints about his reckless definition of stealth. Inside, a mercenary threw open a storage closet. He jolted back in surprise. Two eyes stared back at him from the darkness within. Captain Kim approached the hiding spot and smirked. He recognized the cowering figure immediately. It was none other than Vice Chairman Shim Yunju. Yunju scrambled for dignity, stammering that he was in a meeting. But Captain Kim cut him off, revealing a chilling truth. President Yu had sent him to seize absolute control of the board. The realization hit the directors like a physical blow. They screamed, "Traitor!" at Yunju, realizing the rumors were fact. He was a puppet for World Group, trash who had opened the gates to the enemy. Yunju tried to pivot, blaming Captain Kim for the disruption, but the mercenary leader simply tilted his head, asking with mock politeness if the vice chairman required assistance. The mask fell away completely. Yunju ordered the mercenaries to scrap the original plan and destroy everything. Meanwhile, in a smoke-filled hospital room, Shim Yun-young lay collapsed on the floor. The horrifying truth dawned on her through the haze. This wasn't an accident. It was Shim Yunju's endgame, a plot to erase her from existence, even dragging their own father into his web of destruction. The chairwoman gritted her teeth, forcing her body to move. She knew the Reapers were coming. Their mission was simple: eliminate the bloodline once and for all. The heavy door to her room shuddered violently. Impacts from the other side threatened to tear it from its hinges. Despair whispered that this was the end, but a voice cut through the darkness, steady and strong. It told her that nothing was over yet. Yun-young looked up at the hand extended toward her. Through the smoke, she saw him. Maru stood in the doorway, an immovable wall, declaring that they were the ones who would decide how this story ends. Nearby, the rhythmic beep of a heart monitor signaled life. The vital signs were stable. The doctor exhaled in relief, reporting the chairman had stabilized. However, his expression remained grim. The damage was severe, and time was a luxury the old man no longer possessed. Yun-young's voice trembled with betrayal. She couldn't comprehend how a son could attempt to murder his own father for a mere title. Maru looked down at her, asking if she intended to surrender to this fate. She whispered that it was too late, but he cut her off, vowing to protect her family against the heavens themselves. He cupped her face, forcing her to look at him. He demanded she pull herself together, reminding her that his trust in her had never wavered. His voice was a solemn vow. He would burn the world down if that's what it took to keep her safe. All he asked was for her to stand up and believe in him one last time. A spark returned to her eyes. He smirked, telling her that if they were crashing a board meeting, she better dress like the queen she was. Moments later, she stepped out, asking how she looked. Maru nodded. It was perfect. As he adjusted his own suit, she worried aloud that the meeting must surely be over. She suggested preparing for the next shareholders' gathering, but Maru stopped her. With a confident glint in his eye, he assured her that if his plan worked, the real meeting hadn't even begun. Yoon Young asked what crazy scheme he had cooked up, just as a guttural voice from the hallway roared an order to slaughter everyone inside. Back in the boardroom, the tide had turned. Shim Yunju's mercenaries were being decimated by an unseen force. Maru revealed his ace. He had already deployed Kim Young to the scene. On the boardroom floor, one of the corrupt directors lay motionless, a casualty of the chaos. Shim Yunju stared at the corpse, asking if the man was truly dead. Panic began to set in as he argued with Captain Kim, reminding the mercenary that he was paid to extract them, not start a war. Amidst the carnage, Captain Kim barked into his radio. He ordered his men to find Maru, convinced the elusive target was the puppet master behind this counterattack. Shim Yunju's mind raced. He realized this situation was a catastrophe. Unless every witness in this room was sent to the afterlife, his life was over. A dark resolve settled over him. The solution was simple: total annihilation. He approached Captain Kim, suggesting they handle this like civilized monsters. He leaned in, whispering a lethal warning about what would happen if Chairman Yu found out the captain had botched the operation. The captain scoffed, asking if that was a threat. Yunju shook his head. It was a proposal. He offered a trade. Help him eliminate Executive Director Choi. Right here, right now. Shim Yunju played his final card. He promised that once he ascended to the throne of chairman, the captain's wildest desires would be granted. So Yun grips Chairman Shim's hand, his eyes cold and ready for command. What needs to be done? Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream shatters the silence of the boardroom. Without hesitation, Kim So-yoon unleashes a devastating kick. The director is sent flying, crashing through the glass like a rag doll. Outside, Kim Young clings to the building's facade, watching in horror as the man plummets past her. Adrenaline surges as she grips the wall for dear life. Bodies continue to fall, a rain of death descending from the skyscraper. From her precarious perch, she risks a glance inside the broken window. She has to know, what kind of hell has broken loose in there? Meanwhile, Shim Yeonju addresses the trembling survivors with a snake-like smile. Listen to me, and you might just make it home. He slides an authorization form across the table, demanding their shares in exchange for their lives. But fear breeds courage in one man. A director stands up, his voice shaking as he questions the document's legitimacy. Yeonju sighs, his patience evaporating. He strolls over, resting a hand gently on the man's head before snapping. His fingers tangle in the director's hair, gripping with crushing force. Boom! He smashes the man's face into the mahogany table. This is the price of defiance. This is what happens when he loses control. Yeonju roars at the room, eyes wild with madness. I have nothing left to lose. Do you think I care if I slaughter you all? Glaring at the bloody mess on the floor, he scoffs. Why does nobody ever listen? He barks an order to Kim So-yoon. Disposal. Now. But as the enforcer moves, another director collapses to his knees, begging for mercy. I'll sign. Just let me live. The desperate man crawls toward Yeonju, tears streaming down his face. He pleads for his life, invoking a bond that spans decades. I treated you like family, since you were a boy. Yeonju pauses, a dark nostalgia flickering in his eyes. I was a kind child back then, he muses coldly. But things change, don't they? His face hardens into stone. Get rid of him. Kim So-yoon grabs the weeping man and hurls him into the abyss without a second thought. Director Kang stands tall, ripping the document to shreds. I am not afraid of you, he declares, his honor outweighing his fear. I am a man of Charlotte. I will not bow to a traitor. Yeonju claps slowly, mocking the display. Bold, just like my father's right hand should be. Then, his voice drops to a sinister whisper. But tell me, who inherits your shares when you die today? The threat hangs heavy in the air. Comply, or your legacy turns to ash along with your body. Director Kang's resolve crumbles under the weight of mortality. Defeated, he takes the pen. I wasn't thinking clearly, he mutters, signing away his power to the devil. By the shattered window, Kim So-yoon grumbles. If I had just caught Maru, I wouldn't have to babysit this psycho. He checks his phone. The tracker blinks. Maru is close. Too close. Unless this thing is broken. So Yun narrows his eyes. The rat is right under my nose. He shrugs off the anxiety. Helping the vice chairman seize the throne should buy him a pardon for losing the target earlier. He leans out to dispose of another body, but freezes. On the floor below, a figure clings to the building. So-yun blinks in disbelief. What the hell is that? It's him. It has to be. A cruel grin spreads across his face as he roars into the wind. Ha Maru! He lunges, grabbing the figure by the collar. Got you, you little rat. He drags the intruder inside and stomps down hard, pinning them to the floor. Where do you think you're going? Kim Young hits the concrete with a sickening thud. So-yun pauses, noticing something odd as he grips her. You've got surprisingly strong arms for a runner. You should have stayed in your hole. Now, you're never leaving. He looms over his capture, pondering the most painful way to end this. Shim Yeonju saunters over. Did you find our little pest? Everything is practically over, he gloats. Suddenly, bam! A kick flies out of nowhere. Kim So-yun stumbles back, shock written all over his face. That attack. It didn't come from the person on the floor. He spins around to face the new threat. Standing at the entrance, holding a gleaming knife, is Ha Maru. So-yun's mind races. If Maru is at the door, then who did he just capture? Behind him, the figure in the suit slowly rises, dusting themselves off. He looks between the two, his brain struggling to process the impossible. One at the door, one on the floor. Are there two of them? So-yun voices the absurdity aloud. Since when did Ha Maru have a clone? If the guy with the knife is the real deal. He glances back at the person in the helmet. Then who the hell are you? A savage smirk returns to his face. Whatever. It doesn't matter. His aura flares up. I'll just slaughter you both and sort it out later. Maru tightens his grip on the knife, analyzing the situation. That guy. He must be the leader of this hit squad. Maru charges, aiming for a quick kill to save the directors. But the battlefield is chaotic. Suddenly, Kim Yang throws a massive punch, nailing So-yun in the jaw. Take that, you dirty capitalist. The enforcer crashes to the ground. Shim Yeonju screams in frustration. Cowards, ambushing us like this? Kill them all. Yeonju screeches at his men. From the floor, So-yun wipes blood from his lip. He finally recognizes the heavy hitter. That's Kim Yang, not Maru. Fury ignites in his eyes as he prepares to tear her apart, but Yeonju barks a command. Stop. The villain points a shaking finger at the door. Forget the girl. Capture Ha Maru. He is the priority. So-yun snaps, his bloodlust interrupted. Who are you to order me around? Yeonju glares back, desperate. Remember the deal. You want me as chairman? Then obey. Yeonju mutters to himself, confident in his coup. If Maru is here, my father and sister must already be corpses. But fate loves a twist. A voice cuts through the tension like a blade. A silhouette steps into the light. Who exactly are you calling a corpse? Both Yeonju and So-yun freeze. They know that voice. Shim Yun-young strides into the room, radiating authority. Her brother's face goes pale. How? How are you here? She smiles coldly. I'm not going anywhere while you're still breathing, little brother. Yeonju grinds his teeth. The plan is unraveling. He realized he missed the chance to wipe out the entire bloodline in one stroke. Ignoring the traitors, the chairwoman turns to the battered directors. Is everyone all right? Relief floods the room. Chairwoman, you're alive. What about the chairman? The traitorous brother steps forward, ignoring the tension. He dares to ask if their father still draws breath. Yun-young's response is swift. A sharp slap echoes through the room as she condemns his insanity. Shim Yeonju sneers, rubbing his cheek. He mocks her, declaring that no one is coming to save her now. Clutching the document like a weapon, Yun-young's eyes burn with fury. She confronts him for daring to use their father's name for such a wretched scheme. She asks if he has completely abandoned his humanity, but her brother just laughs, claiming the board of directors is already in the palm of his hand. He continues to gloat, drunk on his own ambition, but suddenly, his arrogant expression crumbles. Yun-young snatches the papers from his grasp. She tears them to shreds before his eyes. She exposes his bluff campaigning with a document that hasn't even been legally registered. Shim Yeonju freezes. He admits he had no idea about the legal registration requirement. Desperate, he turns to Captain Kim. He begs for a contract adjustment, promising the seat of vice chairman if the mercenary handles this. Kim Soo-yoon lunges toward Yun-young. She stands her ground, unflinching in the face of danger. But before he can reach her, Maru and Kim Young crash in, intercepting the attack. Kim Young grits her teeth. She vents her frustration at everything she's suffered because of this man. Maru shouts an order, "Get Shim Yun-young out of here immediately." He then turns to face Kim Soo-yoon, his eyes locking onto his target. He has unfinished business with this monster. Shim Yeonju screams for Captain Kim to chase the fleeing prey, but Kim Young snaps back, telling the noisy fool to shut his mouth. Kim Soo-yoon draws a glistening blade. He growls that he doesn't need orders from anyone. He charges, roaring, that he would have torn her to shreds regardless. But a voice cuts through his bloodlust. Maru steps into his path, declaring himself the true opponent. As she retreats, Yunyong casts a worried glance at Mr. Maru. Kim Soo-yun sneers, asking if the boy wants to die first, and launches his attack. The blade slices through the air, testing the skills that defeated Manager Hong. Cold steel flashes dangerously close to Maru's skin. Maru realizes he was too focused on punching, and barely dodged. He can't let the enemy seize the initiative. He explodes forward, slamming a heavy kick into the captain. Kim Soo-yun hits the floor hard. Maru doesn't hesitate, winding up to end this in a single strike. But the captain blocks it with his bare arm. He mocks Maru as a mere gangster, surprised that the boy knew the counter and landed a clean hit. Kim Soo-yun springs from the ground into a vicious kick. As Maru dodges, the enemy reveals his true identity, the strategy captain of the world group. He aims for a direct hit, but the captain's eyes widen. His unstoppable attack has been halted. Maru catches the leg in midair. Using the momentum, he slams Kim Soo-yun into the concrete. The captain spits out an insult, calling him arrogant. Maru moves in instantly. He unleashes a barrage of rapid-fire blows. Kim Soo-yun collapses, defeated. As Shim Yunju screams his name in panic, Yunju berates him, asking how a weakling could ever be vice chairman. He wails, regretting that he didn't hire Senior Director Choi instead. Kim Soo-yun snaps. He tells his employer to shut up and silences him with a brutal kick. Shim Yunju crumples to the floor, out cold. The captain rises from the debris as if nothing happened. He rubs his ear, complaining that the noise was giving him a headache. Maru watches in disbelief. He doesn't understand. How can the man move so fluidly after taking critical damage? He realizes the enemy's casual stance is unnatural. No normal human could stand like that after such a beating. Maru stares him down and asks the chilling question, "Can you not feel pain?" Kim Soo-yun cracks a wide, twisted smile. The suspicion is confirmed. Maru's mind races as he analyzes the monster before him. To move like that after so many injuries defies logic. That indifferent posture tells the whole story. Maru steps closer, needing to hear it aloud. He asks if Kim Soo-yun is truly incapable of feeling pain. With a feral grin, the captain nods. The monster feels no pain at all. He declares the prize for guessing right is a one-way trip to a coffin. He lunges. Maru realizes that a painless opponent is a nightmare to fight. But invincibility is a myth. There is always a weakness. Maru goes on the offensive. He tries to slash the opponent, but the blow is easily blocked. Kim Soo-yun mocks him, asking if he thought he was the first to try that. He disarms Maru and tosses him away like a rag doll. The captain dusts himself off. He mentions hearing that Maru defeated Manager Hong and had expected more entertainment. He delivers a crushing kick, asking if that was the extent of Maru's talent. He steps forward, stating he has no time to waste on trash. He grabs Maru by the collar. He declares he needs to show the girl true power as well. He hurls Maru aside, shouting that she is his real target. From the ground, Maru smirks. "That is exactly why you have to lose." Kim Soo-yun responds with a bone-shattering strike. The impact leaves Maru flattened on the concrete. Meanwhile, the scene shifts. The head of security for the Charlotte Hotel, Baek Jin, bows to the chairwoman. He reports a successful clear of the current floor. However, danger still lurks in the shadows of the upper levels. The security chief points upward. He has summoned a helicopter for extraction and urges everyone to run for the rooftop. But Yunyong freezes. Her voice trembles as she worries that leaving now abandons Mr. Maru to a cruel fate. Baek Jin stands firm. Her safety is the mission priority. And this is what Maru explicitly requested. Kim Young places a hand on her shoulder. She guarantees that her comrade is the type of man who would crawl back from hell itself. The chairwoman finally nods, and they race toward freedom. Desperation claws at her voice as they race up the stairs. She grabs Bacon, demanding a blood oath. "Bring Maru back. Promise me he survives this." Back on the battlefield, Maru presses a jagged shard of wood against Kim So-yun's throat. He realizes a crucial truth. "You might not feel pain, monster, but you still bleed like a human." Maru sneers, his eyes cold and judging. "You're no warrior. You're barely different from a slaughterhouse pig. Thick hides and layers of fat. You won't drop unless I shatter your vitals." Maru explodes into motion, delivering a devastating spinning kick straight to the giant's skull. Kim So-yun barely flinches. "Boring," he grunts, his voice dripping with disdain. "Don't you know? Shallow wounds only drive a wild pig into a frenzy." Maru snatches up a heavy hammer, his grip tightening. "Then I'll follow the butcher's code." Steel meets flesh as he rains down a merciless barrage of strikes upon his enemy. But the beast doesn't fall. Maru's eyes widen in shock at the monster's durability. Kim So-yun staggers, shaking his head. "Okay," he growls, eyes focusing. "That actually made the world spin a little. Next time, bring a tenderizer," the captain taunts. A gleaming knife materializes in his hand as he lunges with lethal intent. Maru's instincts scream a warning. Asterisk. If this beast goes berserk now, I'm dead meat. Asterisk. He shifts tactics instantly. Forget the kill shot, cripple the movement. The hammer swings low, smashing into the giant's thigh with bone-crushing force. Kim So-yoon grunts, impressed despite himself. Using your brain? Rare. He glares at the hammer. But how are you generating that kind of power with a child's toy? Crack! Maru shatters the arm. Crack! He takes out the leg. The captain sags but grins through the pain. I'm built tough, kid. This isn't over yet. Adrenaline overrides anatomy. Kim So-yoon charges forward like a runaway train, roaring. It takes more than that to put me down. Maru realizes logic won't win this fight. He sprints headlong into danger. Do you still have an ace to play? Kim So-yoon laughs maniacally. I'm starting to like you, brat. Impact! Maru slams into his chest, but realizes blunt force is useless against this tank. Asterisk. Physical damage isn't enough. But inside, he's still just a man. Asterisk. Asterisk. There's only one way. Asterisk. It's a massive gamble, but it's the only path to victory he has left. Maru glances at his trembling hand. He knows he's a shadow compared to the technique's original master. His power is lacking, but he unleashes the strike anyway. A shockwave blasts outward, sending the massive Kim So-yoon flying backward. Maru gasps, watching the giant crash to the earth. Maru stares at his own hands, the recoil ravaging his body, but then horror strikes. Kim So-yoon's head snaps up. From the floor, a raspy voice echoes. For the first time, I actually felt my soul shiver. The monster rises. What a splendid sensation, Kim So-yoon purrs. Maru freezes, his mind racing. Asterisk. How is he still standing? Asterisk. Kim So-yoon lunges, eyes burning with bloodlust. Now, you die. Maru braces himself, knowing he has nothing left to dodge the coming death blow. Suddenly, silence. The captain halts. He coughs up a mouthful of blood, his eyes rolling back. He crumbles to his knees and face plants into the floor, utterly defeated. Kim So-yoon twitches, muttering about the impossible power, before going still. A wave of relief nearly knocks Maru off his feet. Asterisk. If I hadn't used that secret art, I would be a corpse right now. Asterisk. Just then, Bacon rushes over, bowing respectfully. Mr. Maru. Maru glances at the bodyguard, raising an eyebrow. And here I thought you were just background decoration. The security chief barks, we need to evacuate, now. Outside, the cavalry arrives, but it's Choi Ki-jong and the entire might of the World Group Army. High above on the rooftop, the rotors of a getaway helicopter are already slicing through the night air. On the phone, Shim Yoon-young's voice is ice cold. You brought Director Kim? Are you trying to start an all-out war, Yu Dan-hee? The World Group's chairwoman chuckles darkly. My building may have been empty, but you crossed a red line when you dared to attack my territory. And let's not forget, she adds, sharp as a razor, you publicly humiliated my top executives. Prepare to pay the price. Unless you want this to end in your total destruction, you will take responsibility. Yu Dan-hee's tone shifts to terrifying calm. Don't worry, Chairwoman Shim. The cleanup has already begun. Back in the stairwell, Maru pants. Is Shim Yoon-young safe? Bacon shakes his head. She's already gone, sir. The chairwoman drops the final bombshell. This isn't just about the Charlotte Group headquarters. I'm coming for the hotel, too. We will wipe the slate clean, she vows, her voice echoing with absolute power. By morning, it will be as if you and this entire mess never existed. Meanwhile, in front of a looming skyscraper, a security guard groans. Unpaid overtime again? Give me a break. Manager Lee Ka-yong checks his watch, frustration etched on his face. 8:40 p.m. And not a single cent extra for the night shift. We're doing this for free, so let's get it over with, he barks. But as they breach the entrance, the entire squad freezes in their tracks. The lobby is a ghost town. Where is everyone? The manager hisses, sweat forming on his brow. Stay sharp. Something's wrong. Check every corner, he screams, panic rising. This smells like a trap. Sir, it's completely clear, a subordinate yells. Impossible, the manager roars back. They can't just vanish. He smashes a door open with his boot, nothing but silence and dust. The realization hits him like a punch to the gut. The cowards ran. They abandoned the base and took every scrap of evidence with them. He curses the empty air. Great. Now we're stuck here all night for nothing. But suddenly, a frantic voice calls out, Manager, you need to see this. He turns with a glare that could cut steel, warning them to keep their mouths shut unless they are revealing the location of Charlotte's forces. A subordinate trembles as he reports the grim reality. Every exit is sealed tight, and the elevators are dead. The truth hits the manager like a physical blow. Charlotte's people were never retreating out of fear. They were baiting a trap to bury their enemies alive. In the blink of an eye, the world turns white. A catastrophic explosion erupts from the building's foundation, swallowing the base in a roaring inferno of fire and debris. Amidst the chaos, Choi Ki-jong stares down at the broken form of Kim So-yoon on the floor. It seems illogical, almost laughable, that a man who boasted so boldly to the president has ended up crawling in the dirt. Ki-jong mocks the fallen fighter, his voice dripping with disdain. He demands to know how So-yoon ended up this pathetic, noting that he could not even handle a single target like Han Maru. Then, his eyes lock onto the gruesome wound carved into So-yoon's body. He leans in closer, inspecting the injury like a connoisseur of violence. A twisted, bloodthirsty grin spreads across his face. The damage tells a story. The kid has evolved. Ki-jong realizes with a thrill that their next duel will not just be a fight, it will be a slaughter. Meanwhile, Han Maru asks Baek Hu-chin if Shim Yun-young is safe. Baek replies calmly that she has already evacuated to the hotel in Busan with her family. Maru is confused, asking why they would retreat all the way to Busan. Hu-chin states plainly that they have no choice. That is their destination as well. He explains the grim geopolitical reality. The world group has already seized control of most of Seoul. President Shim has been quietly establishing a stronghold in Busan for this very moment. It is a fortress that even the mighty world group will struggle to breach. Maru agrees to the plan, and together, they sprint toward the exit, racing against time. The scene shifts to the coastal city of Busan. As a car idles outside the Charlotte Hotel, President Shim strides through the lobby with an air of command. She demands an update on the situation in Seoul. Her subordinate reports that the trap has been sprung, and they are successfully framing the explosion as the world group's doing. Shim Yun-young then presses for intelligence on their allies, asking her subordinate about the current location of the Japanese faction. He informs her that the enforcers from the Do clan are en route, but given the distance, their arrival will be delayed. The president snaps an order to hurry them up. The situation is too critical for delays. Suddenly, her tense expression softens as a young woman named Han Naru rushes in, hugging her tight. Naru chirps happily, commenting that the hotel is magnificent, though she adds a sharp remark, hoping her annoying brother does not show up to ruin it. Yun-young looks around and asks about Kim Yang, who was supposed to be part of the convoy. Naru replies that Miss Kim had personal business to handle and will be arriving late via helicopter. High in the sky, Kim Yang reacts with shock to the pilot's announcement. She demands confirmation that they are truly heading to the Charlotte Hotel in Busan instead of the base in Seoul. One of the men explains they must regroup in the south to prepare a counterattack. Yu-dion adds that Seoul is a no-go zone for the foreseeable future. Retreating to Busan is their only tactical option to survive. A look of determination crosses Kim's face. She apologizes to President Shim under her breath and slides open the helicopter door, the wind roaring into the cabin. An officer shouts over the noise, asking if she wants to be disposed of like Captain Kim. She ignores the threat, stating simply that she left something precious back in Seoul. Without hesitation, she leaps from the aircraft. Plummeting in freefall, she shouts her goodbyes, telling the stunned crew not to worry and that she will meet them in Busan later. Back at the blast site, Choi Ki-jong holds up Vice President Shin Yun-ju. He comments on the man's pitiful state, noting that the president will be thoroughly disappointed in his failure. The vice president stammers a defense, insisting everything was going according to plan, until Captain Kim interfered. He explains that Kim tried to track Han Maru with a cell phone, ruining the operation. Ki-jong snatches the device from him, realizing it is still actively tracking Maru's signal. As he stares at the screen, his eyes widen. The speed of the target is incredible. The prey is moving faster than he anticipated. Meanwhile, firefighters battle the blaze at the hotel ruins. One prepares to enter the structure, noting that witnesses reported screams, yet the rooms they checked were eerily empty. He adds that even the employees were missing. Suddenly, movement in the wreckage catches their eye. Lee Ka-young emerges from the rubble like a demon rising from hell. He is battered but alive, stunned that Charlotte's lunatics actually blew up their own headquarters just to kill them. A firefighter rushes to assist him, but Ka-young waves him off. He grumbles that his health insurance will not cover this treatment, complaining about the hazards of his job. His pocket vibrates. Even in the middle of a disaster zone, duty calls. He answers his phone. It is Director Choi on the line. He informs Ka-young that they have located Han Maru and orders him to take reinforcements to the target immediately, leaving Ka-young bewildered. The absurdity hits him. He nearly died seconds ago, and he is already being deployed again. Annoyed, he screams at the director for treating him like a machine. The scene shifts to a quiet residential building under the cover of night. Kim Yang sneaks down a hallway, moving like a shadow. Suddenly, a hand strikes out, knocking her to the ground. An old woman scolds her fiercely, asking why a grown woman is wandering around dressed like a delinquent. Upon entering the apartment, the men inside greet her warmly, joking that she has a supernatural talent for showing up exactly when food is ready. A young man smiles and offers to prepare a special serving of ramyeon, just for her. She sits at the table, eyes sparkling, and declares that capitalist ramyeon is the greatest invention of the South. But the old woman interrupts, ordering her to shower before she touches a single noodle. Kim Yang dashes out of the room, promising to return in a flash and warning them that the penalty for stealing her food is death. Returning moments later, she announces she will be heading out again after the meal. The men exchange glances, teasingly speculating if she has a secret boyfriend. Inside her room, soft music plays. Her clothes lie scattered on the floor, and resting on top of her bag is an old, worn photograph. The photo reveals a younger version of herself standing beside another woman. Fresh from her shower, she sprints back down the hall, calling out to her comrades. She bursts into the living room, announcing that her shower mission is complete. With a hungry grin, she demands her ramyeon, ready to feast before the chaos returns. On the blood-stained floor, a fallen mercenary groans, clutching his stomach and complaining of hunger. Beside him, another battered comrade cries out desperately for backup. Meanwhile, Lee Ga-young slumps in a chair, fuming with irritation. Director Choi explicitly said the target was Han Maru, but it's actually Kim Young. He stares at the ceiling, reflecting on the absurdity of his life, serving a director who can't even fact-check before sending an agent into the fire. Disgusted, he jams his cigarette into a bowl of half-eaten ramyun. He barely survived a deathmatch, and now he has to fight the legendary Kim Young? Suddenly, he surges to his feet. He warns Yang not to misunderstand he didn't take these guys out. He only just arrived on the scene. A fresh squad of armed killers encircles Kim Yang. Their leader, Ki-nam, steps forward, sneering that they are the ones responsible for the carnage. He adds arrogantly that they are efficient but strict, a brutal reality she should remember well from her time as one of them. Kim Young opens her mouth to retort that it's part of the job, but Ki-nam barks at her to shut her mouth. From the sidelines, Ga-young pleads with Kim Young not to shoot the messenger, insisting he had no hand in this mess. He explains he's just another pawn sent by Director Choi, and suggests they part ways peacefully, as he didn't come to capture her. But a compact pistol slides into Kim Yang's hand. She turns, eyes cold as steel. In a blur of motion, she raises the weapon and unleashes fury on the men surrounding her. She disarms a mercenary with a single, bone-breaking blow. Closing the distance, she executes the final guard at point-blank range. The body hits the floor with a heavy thud. Lee Ga-young watches the slaughter, noting the terrifying aura radiating from her. She is beyond pissed off. He stares her down as she stalks toward him. He raises a hand, asking if they can call a truce now that she has annihilated her enemies. Ga-young tries to explain his fatigue, but his voice trails off. Kim Young ignores him and starts devouring the ramyun left on the table. The realization hits him, she was just starving. Ga-young sighs, asking why she didn't just say so. Though eating noodles seasoned with cigarette ash is pure insanity, he bargains with her. He'll buy her a jagged feast if they leave now, on the condition she pretends she never saw him. Kim Yang racks the slide of her gun. She stares him dead in the eye. "Nothing in this world," she declares, aiming at his head, "tastes as good as the ramyun right here." Outside, rain pummels the dark alleyways. A hunting party scrambles through the downpour, screaming that the wounded target couldn't have gone far. One injured pursuer vows to drag her to hell, but his body fails him. He collapses into the mud, shivering, cold, and starving. As his vision fades, he wonders if this is the end. His final wish is just one hot bowl of ramyun to wash away the regrets before he dies. The scene shifts to a warm memory in the apartment. The landlady and the other tenants hover over a sleeping Kim Yang. One of them whispers that it's been over 20 hours. He thought she would have shaken off the exhaustion by now. They watch her slumber, convinced that a woman who sleeps this deeply must carry a heavy, tragic story. The young man holding a pot decides they can't wait forever to eat. But the moment the word ramyun escapes his lips, Kim Young's eyes snap open. Moments later, she sits on her bed, slurping noodles while the neighbors tease that she should be the one cooking lunch next time. Dinner is lively. The old lady serves a meat dish, joking that the glutton who eats the most gets served last. A tenant laughs, calling it ruthless capitalism, and advising his friend to start a revolution if he's upset. Two other guys smile warmly, assuring her they will always save a plate for Yang, no matter how much she eats. That sanctuary, filled with laughter, was her true home. But back in the cold present, she aims her gun at Lee Ga-young, accusing him of destroying everything. Asterisk bang, asterisk. She fires near his feet. Ga-young snaps, countering with a vicious punch and screaming that he already told her he's innocent. He grabs her face, whining that he almost died earlier and hasn't even seen a doctor yet. She retaliates with a brutal knee strike, stating she'll feel better once she defeats every last one of them. Ga-young doubles over from the impact. As he glares up at her, Kim Young cracks him over the head with the butt of her pistol. The blow sends him stumbling backward. He groans, complaining that unpaid overtime is a pain in the ass. Kim Yang raises the gun again, her patience gone. Lee Ga-young sighs and picks up his weapon, casually commenting on the weather to break her focus. She scoffs, asking if he really thinks cheap tricks will work. He shrugs. There's nothing he can do if she refuses to believe him. He checks his watch, his eyes going cold. He hates working 2 days straight without sleep. Let's end this, Ga Young declares. 10 seconds is all I need. Meanwhile, a black sedan tears down the highway. Inside, an associate confirms that Mr. Lee has arrived on site. Jijong turns to Shim Yeonju with grim news. Shim Yeon-young has fled to Busan. He considers this a disaster. He explains, with a grave expression, that he knows from experience that city is a nightmare to conquer. It is a fortress designed for absolute defense, a stronghold that held out until the very end during the last Great War. He worries about how they will dig her out. But Yeonju just smiles, a chilling glint in his eyes. Don't worry, he says smoothly. We'll turn the tables. He explains that if she has retreated into that fortress, it simply means she has trapped herself with no way out. The duel resumes instantly. Lee Ka-young strikes with lethal force, but Kim Yang weaves through the danger. In a split second, she fires point blank. Impossible reflexes. Lee deflects the bullet with his bare hand and blocks her follow-up with his baton. But Kim Yang isn't done. A devastating kick to the chest sends him stumbling backward. She seizes the opening, crashing the heavy butt of her gun into his skull with a sickening thud. He shrugs off the blow and retaliates with earth-shattering power. The floor cracks beneath his strike. She barely evades, but the shockwave hurls her back just as the timer hits 0. Dusting herself off, she scoffs. 10 seconds wasn't nearly enough to finish this. Lee Ka-young glares, declaring that his shift ends right now, permanently. As he stalks toward her, she dares him to try. But his voice drops to a chilling growl. He wouldn't let her escape even if it costs him his life. I'd sell my very soul before I let you walk away. Suddenly, his expression twists in horror. Kim Young doesn't hesitate. She throws herself backward, shattering the glass and plummeting into the night air. If you want to clock out that badly, she calls back, then rest in peace. A trap activates, engulfing Lee Ka-young instantly. Outside, amidst the chaos, a blond man watches with a twisted smirk. Boom! A massive explosion tears through the apartment, illuminating the city skyline with flames. Shim Yeonju steps out of her car, eyes wide. She asks if Manager Lee caused this, but Troy Kong shakes his head. Too flashy. That mess isn't Manager Lee's style. His eyes narrow. Something is terribly wrong. Panic grips the streets. Using the terrified crowd as cover, Kim Yang slips away into the shadows, stumbling toward the entrance of a veterinary clinic. Moments later, a squad of armed enforcers rushes past, screaming for the traitor Kim Yang to be found at all costs. Inside, the veterinarian and his assistant freeze, startled by the commotion erupting outside. Suddenly, a bloodied figure emerges. Kim Yang signals for silence, ordering them to keep their mouths shut while she makes a crucial call. A trail of crimson stains marks the pavement. Cho Ki-jong halts, scanning the dark alley with a predator's gaze. The blood leads one way, straight to the veterinary hospital. Troy Kong moves in. The trail continues across the clinic floor. The terrified staff look up, stammering to ask if he has an appointment. He ignores them. A woman was here, he barks. Where is she hiding? Trembling, the assistant explains she received treatment, grabbed her shoes, and vanished out the front door. Strange. The street was empty a moment ago. Suddenly, Kong spots a suspicious van peeling away. After them, he commands. Inside the fleeing vehicle, Maru turns to Baek-jin. What happened? Why are you still in Seoul? You were supposed to be in Busan with Shim Yeon-young. From the back seat, a weary Kim Young speaks up. She had loose ends to tie up before tomorrow. Maru presses for answers, but she cuts him off. Just wait and see, she smirks. When this saves your life later, be sure to thank me. Far away, a winding road cuts through the pitch-black darkness of the mountains. A high-speed convoy tears down the path, finally arriving at the luxurious Charlotte Hotel in Busan. Inside the grand ballroom, the atmosphere is heavy. Powerful men in suits sit in silence around the tables. Shim Yeon-young bows respectfully to Director Jen, thanking him. He replies coldly, it was merely his duty. The tension rises. He fears they lack the soldiers to stand against the mighty world group. But the chairwoman smiles confidently. We have a way to replenish our forces. Suddenly, Chairman Takanaka Yoshinori slams the table. He screams that Maru crippled 3 of his best men and torched his factory. Manager Hong was supposed to pay for the damages, he roars. But that brat Maru just caused more chaos. He demands Maru's head on a platter. Calmly, Bai approaches the furious chairman. Mr. Maru is en route, he says smoothly. But first, please examine this. He slides an envelope across the table, compensation for the trouble. The chairman of Duera Ranch sneers, opening it. He realizes instantly. This isn't cash. What use are these papers to me? He spits. I want my money back. Shim Yeon-young's voice cuts through the noise. Read it before you speak. I promise, you won't regret it. Yoshinori mocks her confidence. Real estate deeds? But as his eyes scan the text, his face goes pale. His men whisper, confused by his sudden silence. Shim Yun-yong drops the bomb. Proof, she declares. Proof that the World Group has been skimming money from their deals with Dora Ranch all along. With the truth laid bare, she extends a hand. Now, shall we renew our alliance? Back on the highway, Hamaru glances around nervously. Is it really safe to keep driving this van? Baekjin reassures him they'll switch vehicles once they clear the sector. Suddenly, crash! A car slams into their rear bumper. The enemy vehicle revs its engine, preparing to ram them again. Maru grits his teeth. This is what happens when we look like sitting ducks. In seconds, the road swarms with enemy headlights. They are surrounded by the World Group's fleet. Bam! Another impact rocks the van from the side, nearly flipping them. Baekjin screams over the noise. We need to bail out, now. Hang on tight. He slams the button. The van transforms into a battering ram, swerving violently to crush the vehicles, flanking them. Reinforcements arrive. Bae Hyuk-jin grins. I knew Keon Ho-won wouldn't let us down, but the relief is short-lived. The hunters are closing the gap fast. Don't panic. Kim Yang's voice is ice-cold as she chambers around into her rifle. With a powerful kick, she blasts the van's rear doors wide open. I was born ready for this. Dropping prone, she levels her weapon. This is exactly why I packed the heavy artillery. The enemy drivers stare in confusion, a fatal mistake. Kim Yang exhales and pulls the trigger. Asterisk, bang. Asterisk, one precise shot shreds the tire of the pursuing car. The lead vehicle spins out of control, slamming into its neighbor in a screeching wreck. The road is sealed. How's that for marksmanship? She taunts. She reloads, eyes gleaming. Behold, the people's blitz attack. Told you this rifle wasn't dead weight. A third pursuer smashes into the wreckage, but their victory is cut short. 3 more cars box the van in. They're trapped. Persistent rats. She spits, hopping out of the van. She aims her rifle at the crowd, yelling, You all need a lesson in revolution. But then a blur of motion catches her eye. It's Han Maru! He launches himself from the van, landing perfectly atop an enemy car. Even Kim Yang flinches at his reckless speed. Inside the enemy vehicle, chaos erupts. Maru strikes. A henchman screams as a blow crushes his neck, followed instantly by a knockout strike to the driver. It's Han Maru, get him! The thugs scramble out, panic rising in their voices as they realize who they are facing. Kim Yang unleashes a hail of covering fire before they can aim. Maru leans casually against the car door, smirking at the chaos. You owe me your life, he teases, stepping closer. But how did they track us? I destroyed the transmitter. They commandeer the enemy vehicle. Bae Hyuk-jin sighs, gripping the wheel. Good news, we don't need to swap cars. Bad news, this ride is compromised. We can't stay in it for long. Suddenly, static crackles over the car radio. A chilling voice cuts through the noise. Unit 7. Report. The operator continues. Unaware of who is listening, all routes to Busan are sealed. The targets are heading straight into our net. The blood drains from their faces. Every land route is barricaded. They are completely boxed in. The World Group controls the airspace. Hyuk-jin groans. And there are no ships to Busan. We are finished. What do we do? Swim? Hyuk-jin asks in despair. No. Maru interrupts, his eyes gleaming with a plan. There is another way. I know a guy at Incheon Bay, Maru declares with absolute confidence, and he's got exactly what we need. Arriving at the docks, Hyuk-jin stares up at a massive cruise liner. Is that the boat? Who exactly is this legendary friend of yours? Dream on. Maru points downward to a sleek speedboat bobbing nearby. A figure on the deck waves enthusiastically. A woman's voice calls out. Kim Yang raises an eyebrow. That beauty is your contact? Look closer. Maru smirks. It's the guy drowning in women. Kim Ki-jun waves from the center of a harem, beaming. Long time no see. Appa, don't go, the girls plead, clinging to him. Ki-jun flashes a charming smile but pushes them aside. Sorry ladies, duty calls. My best friend is here. He hasn't changed a bit, Maru mutters. Ki-jun spots him and sprints over, arms wide, screaming, Han Maru Yu. Maru braces for a hug, but Ki-jun breezes right past him. He skids to a halt in front of Kim Yang, eyes sparkling. Have you been well, my goddess? With practiced smoothness, he drapes his jacket over her shoulders. Careful. The sea breeze is harsh on such delicate skin. He reaches for her hand. May I ask your name times? Wham! Asterisk Kim Yang delivers a brutal kick, sending him sprawling. She turns to Maru, deadly serious. Can I break him? We don't have time for this, Hyuk-jin yells. Maru, apologize to your friend so we can leave. Maru just shrugs, looking at his groaning friend. Nah, no explanation needed. That's just how he is. From the dirt, Ki-jun gives a thumbs up. I love a feisty woman. To Busan we go. Meanwhile, at the Charlotte Hotel, the war room falls silent. Shim Yun-young stands at the podium, her gaze piercing. One final order. Do not fight to die. Fight to survive. The screen behind her flashes red. The world group outguns us, 3-1. She reveals calmly. The harder we clash, the more we bleed. This will not be a skirmish. It will be a slaughter if we aren't careful. President Kim Dong-ho speaks up. We are the future of Charlotte. But President Min counters grimly. What use is a victory if that future is buried in the ashes? Honor is for the dead. President Takanaka Yoshinori interjects. I intend to live long enough to taste the glory of our win. President Min raises a hand. Director Shim, a question. She nods, allowing him to speak. Be honest, he asks, the tension in the room spiking. Can we actually defeat the world group if we fight like cornered beasts? 10%, she admits. If you follow my strategy to the letter, that rises to 50%. A dangerous smile plays on her lips. But if you internalize the plan, if you act as a living organism on the battlefield, then our odds hit 80%. She straightens up, radiating power. And I don't bet on losing odds. The executives in the front row stare at her, the silence in the room heavy enough to suffocate a man. Suddenly, a single pair of hands begins a slow, rhythmic clap. It starts as a ripple and becomes a tidal wave. The entire board stands in unison, their applause thunderous. They have seen her resolve, and they are betting their futures on her. The ovation for Director Shim echoes off the walls. She surveys the room, a faint, enigmatic smile playing on her lips. She has won this round. Under the cold light of the moon, Kim Yang gazes at a worn photograph. The sea breeze whips through her hair, but her eyes remain locked on the image of the past. Maru steps onto the deck, his voice soft. He asks if it is a family photo, wondering if the woman in the frame is her mother and if she is still trapped in North Korea. Kim Yang's expression darkens. She admits the painful truth. She has no idea if her mother is even alive to see this moon. She confesses that, upon reaching the south, she chased every shadow that looked like her mother, but her jaw tightens as she recalls the bitter reality they were all fakes. Every single one of them. Maru doesn't offer empty platitudes. Instead, he cracks open a cold drink, the sharp hiss cutting through the melancholy air. He hands it to her with a simple command. Drink. He advises her to rest now, for once they reach Busan, there will be no time for peace. They clink hands, a toast to survival. She thanks him for the silence and the support, apologizing for dragging him through hell all day. As the boat slices through the dark waves, she asks for snacks to break the mood. But below deck, shadows are moving. Someone is climbing the ladder. Hojin corners Ki-jun in the cabin, his eyes narrowing. He demands to know why the yacht is on autopilot instead of under manual control. Ki-jun doesn't flinch. He claims the autopilot is sufficient because he has a far more critical puzzle to solve. Hojin points a finger, demanding to know what his real deal is. The interrogation intensifies. Hojin presses the barrel of his question against him. Maru never told you the destination. How did you know we were heading to Busan? Ki-jun smirks, adjusting his glasses. He notes that Hojin talks like a thug from the Charlotte group. Hojin snaps back, ordering him to cut the chatter and answer. Ki-jun holds up 3 fingers, his eyes gleaming with intelligence. 3 variables, he explains. That is all I needed to see the entire board. First, Maru's history with the World Group. Second, the whispering rumors of an all-out war between them and the Charlotte Group. And third, he continues, the total surveillance lockdown on Seoul's highways and airports. He lays out the deduction perfectly. Maru is trapped in the crossfire. With Kim Yang injured and the sky and land blocked, Seoul is a cage. The only escape route is the sea, Ki-jun concludes. And since there are no regular ferries from Incheon to that sector, the only logical destination is Busan. He explains that Maru called him precisely because he needed a ghost ship to get there. But Ki-jun's smirk fades slightly. He admits confusion. Maru never struck him as the type to dive headfirst into a war of this magnitude. Hojin lowers his guard, holstering his gun. But he has one final question that needs an answer. You know the risks. You know the danger. So why are you still helping Maru? Ki-jun starts to say friend, but stops. He corrects himself with a genuine smile. Family. They are my benefactors. Hojin steps back as Maru enters the cabin behind him. Maru looks at his enforcer and asks, are your doubts about my friend finally cleared? Hojin is still skeptical. He asks just what kind of background this fund manager actually has. Maru rattles off the stats like a legend. Youngest chess master in Asia at 13. MBA at 17. Mensa at 18. Published in Nature at 20. Ki-jun isn't just a manager. He's a genius who controls the assets of kings. Meanwhile, back on the road, the aftermath of violence is clear. A World Group goon lies broken on the asphalt. Sik Jong arrives at the carnage. He ignores the noise and studies the scene with the cold eyes of a predator. He analyzes the injuries, these vital points. This isn't Kim Yang's style. A realization hits him. Han Maru is with her. He turns to his men, his decision made. We go to Busan. A subordinate hesitates, asking if they shouldn't hunt the duo down first. Sikjong smiles, a chilling sight. If the Charlotte group falls, they have nowhere to run. They will end up in the trap of Busan regardless. I will see you in hell, Han Maru. The hunt moves south. Meanwhile, inside the World Construction headquarters, power is on the move. Vice President Ma Tae-won walks with a swagger. I've been craving some hot Busan pork soup, he quips. Perfect timing. His eyes turn cold as he issues the command. Get to Busan, eliminate Shim Yun-young, and then, we feast. Another faction leader rallies his troops. President Choi refuses to be outdone by the other affiliates. We will be the ones to take Shim's head. In the back of a military truck, the whispers begin. The soldiers know that every affiliate of the group is converging on one city. Inside the vehicle, Kim Soo-hyun injects a strange substance into his neck. He informs his squad, this is a direct order from the chairman himself. The drugs take effect, his pupils dilating. With a manic smile, Soo-hyun declares the mission objective. We are going to wipe them all out. At a residential complex, firefighters battle a towering blaze. One prepares to breach the building, wondering why this neighborhood is suddenly cursed with accidents. Flames lick the sky, consuming an apartment window in a vortex of heat. But inside the inferno, a figure stirs. Lee Ki-young rises from the ashes, pushing through the debris. He dusts off the fire as if it were mere dirt, annoyed by the explosion. His phone rings amidst the crackling fire. Ki-young answers casually, confirming to Executive Choi that he is very much alive. The order from the other end is absolute. No time to die. Work overtime. Get to Busan immediately. The monster begins to move. He sparked his lighter, the flame dancing in his eyes. He grumbled about his ruined day off. But then, a thought struck him. Victory here meant he could finally pen his resignation letter. Kim So-yoon hobbled forward, his arm and leg encased in heavy plaster casts. He scanned the army of thugs before him, a twisted grin forming. Quite the welcoming party we have here. All this firepower just to hunt down a single man at the Charlotte Hotel? One goon approached, eyes greedy. Where is the sample? He demanded, while the others murmured in confusion. He confirmed the product was top tier. I want more, the thug hissed. But the response was cold and sharp. That was just a taste. Use it wisely. Kim So-yoon grew impatient. He gestured with his good hand. Why are you fools standing around like statues? The target is inside. A subordinate hesitated. We are strategizing, sir. The hotel is packed with civilians. We cannot just storm in. Dissension bred in the ranks. Kick down the doors, one shouted. No, another countered, sweat beading on his forehead. We must minimize collateral damage. The chairwoman is watching, Choi Ki-jong sneered. Our orders supersede your morals. But even he was warned against recklessness. High above, watching the chaos unfold like a hawk, stood Shim Yun-young, her eyes narrowed. They are a fractured mess. The so-called song line was a patchwork disaster. Traditional gangsters, hired mercenaries, and washed-up athletes trying to play soldier. In stark contrast stood the Jingpa line, wolves who had clawed their way up from the gutter, tooth and nail. When Manager Hong was alive, such pathetic infighting would never have been tolerated. But now, chaos reigned. Chief Park Tae-soo spat on the ground and made his move. We go in. We do whatever the hell we want. His eyes gleamed with malice. Kill anyone who stands in our way. The men roared in agreement. A finger pointed toward the hotel's grand entrance, drawing Chief Park's predatory gaze. Inside the lobby, a lone guard spotted the approaching horde. His hand drifted to his weapon. Shall we wipe them all out? Park Tae-soo lit a cigarette, the smoke curling around his cruel smile. Ignore the pawns. Head straight to the top. We only want Shim Yun-young. He froze. The air felt wrong. Chief Park looked around the lobby. Why were the only guests here men? He stood in the gloom, the realization hitting him like a physical blow. It was a trap. Darkness swallowed the room as the main breakers were cut. Flashlights! Now! They screamed, panic rising. The enemy is here. But the warning came too late. In the pitch black, the sound of tearing flesh echoed as a goon collapsed. Steel flashed in the darkness. A swordsman burst forward, carving a path toward Chief Park. I expected better from the executives, the assassin mocked. You are soft. In seconds, the tables turned. Park's men looked around in horror. Their vanguard had been completely decimated. The assassin flicked the blood from his blade with a chilling calm. Do not relax. The real war has only just begun. Outside, a sinister gas began to hiss from beneath the hotel doors. From a safe distance, Choi Ki-jong watched the slaughter. Is Chief Park down? A subordinate asked. Choi smirked. Good. That is one less competitor for the prize. One of the men frowned. Where is Vice Chief Ma? Why is he not with Park's team? Because I have no intention of dying like a fool, Ma had replied. Suddenly, a roar of an engine tore through the air. Kim So-yoon slammed the accelerator of a massive truck. I am ending this now. Glass shattered and metal screamed. The truck bulldozed through the hotel entrance like a battering ram. Dust swirled around the wreckage. Move out! Kill them all! Kim screamed. The defenders in the lobby scrambled back, their advantage lost to the sheer brutality of the breach. Kim So-yoon pointed his cast-covered arm toward the ceiling. Sweep the building. Spare no one. Watching the carnage, Choi Ki-jong's group was impressed. Look at him move, even with those broken bones. He is using the chairwoman's own troops as fodder. A mercenary bowed. I will flank through the underground. I leave the glory of the front door to you, Director Choi. Choi nodded, stepping toward the main entrance. Just then, Shim Bang-ju approached Choi Ki-jong, desperation in his eyes. Do not leave me behind. I can help you, he pleaded. With me, breaching the interior will be child's play. Bang-ju grinned slyly. While the others bleed, we can take a secret route and capture Yun-young ourselves. High in her command room, Shim Yun-young analyzed the battlefield. They have the numbers, but they are divided. And this hotel, it is a fortress designed to nullify their strength. If we exploit their arrogance and utilize my knowledge of this terrain, she murmured, her eyes cold, we can win, even against these odds. She turned to the silent figure behind her. Hamaru, do not worry. This war is already ours. Hamaru pushed his glasses up the bridge of his nose, light reflecting off the lenses. A brilliant plan. As expected from the true successor of the Charlotte, he paused, a playful smirk touching his lips. Remind me, what was your name again? The scene cut sharply to the ominous darkness of the underground parking garage. Vice Chief Ma prowled the concrete shadows. Eliminate the Charlotte's guards, he hissed. Find Hamaru and end him. He checked his watch nervously. If Choi or Park gets to the target first, we are finished. But the garage was silent as a grave. Ma stopped. Where is everyone? The emptiness felt heavy. Is this another trap? Stay sharp. Ambush. The silence shattered as a car engine roared to life, headlights blinding them. It sped directly toward Ma's group. From a second vehicle, a command crackled over the radio. Show no mercy. Doors flew open, and a squad of enforcers wielding steel bats charged into the fray. Flesh met metal in a brutal melee. Where did they come from? A henchman screamed. Standing calmly before a parked sedan, a swordsman shook his head. Brute force is so inelegant. His hand drifted to the hilt of his katana, the movement fluid like water. He drew the blade in a blur of motion. I intended to use you as a warm-up before facing Hamaru. Sparks flew as his steel collided with an enemy weapon. With terrifying strength, he slammed his opponent into a nearby car, crushing the metal frame. Boring, he sighed, admiring the gleaming edge of his blade. At least this sword is worthy of a master. Ma Tawang flaunts his blade, a wicked glint in his eye, and demands to know if they witnessed his speed. The mob roars that he is heading up and must be stopped, but Ma Tawang only cares about his image, asking if he looks cool. He locks eyes with an opponent, declaring that when a question is asked, "You answer!" He explodes forward with his weapon drawn, hungry for blood. Meanwhile, a squad storms the stairwell, their leader calculating the layout, 16 floors total, with a staff level hidden in the guide. He bets everything that Shim Yun-young is hiding on the 12th floor, but the moment they breach level 11, disaster strikes. A shot rings out. The men scramble for cover, realizing a sniper has them pinned. The leader stays low, scanning the death corridor for the threat. He uses his phone camera to peek safely from a distance, and spots a silhouette lurking in the shadows. The shooter is none other than Kim Yang, rifle steady and eyes cold. Down in the parking garage, Ma Tawang stands before the elevator, itching to find Hamaru. He analyzes the panel it's currently on the second basement level, meaning the front lines are likely empty. He figures the main force is guarding Shim Yun-young, and punches the button for the top floor. The doors slide open, but Ma Tawang freezes. A figure draped in shadow stands within. It is Hamaru who stares back at him. Ma Tawang's shock melts into a twisted grin. He has found his prey. Hamaru steps out, flanked by Kim Yang and Chief Ba. This is the man who supposedly conquered Director Hong. The scene shifts to a tense meeting room, where a voice confirms his identity. The man introduces himself as Takanaka Shori, the boss of the infamous Do Ranch. Hamaru's eyes narrow at the name. He remembers burning that very ranch to the ground in Japan. He suggests they bury the hatchet since they are allies now. But Takanaka shifts menacingly from under the table. He questions the true meaning of this alliance. Hamaru grips a pen like a dagger, asking if this is a challenge. Takanaka stares daggers, daring him to strike. He invites the violence if that is his will. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the air, ordering them to halt. Shim Yun-young enters, declaring that their true enemy is World. Back in the present, Ma Tawang swings his blade, cursing Hamaru's name. He screams about his hunger for battle. Ma Tawang charges like a madman, sword slashing down, but Hamaru weaves through the strike. Hamaru asks when they have ever met, confused by this vendetta. He steps back, realizing he is off balance to block. Then, he spots it, the object in Ma Tawang's hand. Ma Tawang grins, revealing the heavy sheath used as a bludgeon, mocking him for falling for it. Hamaru scoffs, calling him a coward who bit the hand that fed him. Ma Tawang charges again, but Hamaru dodges. The strikes are surgical, precise, and lethal. This is no amateur brandishing a weapon. Ma Tawang is a master swordsman. Hamaru draws his knife, parrying a blow to ask why he is doing this. Ma Tawang grips his hilt until his knuckles turn white. He screams that Hong Jono loved Hamaru like a son. The battlefield fades into a memory of a filthy pigsty. Hong Jono ruled there like a king, while Ma Tawang was nothing but livestock in a cage. He was destined to rot in that hell. But Jono was the savior who pulled him from the abyss. He remembers the order to serve the chairwoman, while Jono promised to raise new pigs right there. That day, Ma Tawang's skills were recognized, and he ascended to vice president. But Jono remained his king, the idol he lived to surpass. Back in the fight, Ma Tawang attacks with fury, demanding to know why Hamaru murdered his god. Hamaru barely blocks the sorrow-fueled strike. Upstairs, the squad leader identifies Kim Yang on his screen. He clicks his tongue. It is not Hamaru, but she will do. Suddenly, an object flies through the air. Kim Yang's eyes widen. A smoke grenade detonates at her feet. Blinded by the gray fog, she curses. A shadow tears through the smoke. The leader lunges with a knife, aiming for the kill. He clashes with her rifle, sneering a greeting. He accuses her of betraying the World Organization to side with Charlotte. He grabs her, demanding to know how much they paid her to switch sides. He pulls a gun, offering to triple her pay. He invites her to join him, but Kim Yang knocks the barrel aside, refusing the bribe. She spits that she does not work for trash like him. The man sighs, saying she leaves him no choice. He moves in for the kill, sneering that he will send her to join her little friends from Gashuan. That name stops her cold. Kim Yang blocks his blade with a knife, questioning his words. He laughs, admitting he sent his men there. Kim Yang's fist smashes into his face. She stomps him into the floor, asking if the suits at the orphanage were his doing. She raises her fist, trembling with rage, and demands an answer. She strikes him again, screaming to know if he hunted the others too. The man, battered and confused, gasps out, asking why those trash kids mattered so much. The mercenary rises, dusting himself off with arrogant ease, declaring that this is just a paycheck, and anyone standing in his path will be crushed. Kim Yang glares back, her eyes burning with unbridled fury. She spits a venomous warning he won't be walking away from this today. Meanwhile, on the other battlefield, Hamaru shields himself from the raining debris, scoffing at the absolute mess surrounding them. He is forced into a desperate dance, dodging the lethal reach of Ma Tawang's longsword. Even when he tries to strike in the split second after a slash, the opening vanishes instantly. It is nearly impossible to get close. His opponent wields the heavy weapon with the grace of a master assassin. Ma Tawang is a combat monster with skills that transcend dimensions, leaving 0 weak points exposed. Hamaru compares this overwhelming pressure to Director Hong, while Ma Tawang sneers, asking if this pathetic display is all he learned from Junho. A realization flashes through Hamaru's mind. There is only one path to victory. Just like his legendary duel with Director Hong, retreat is not an option. He stops dodging. He charges straight into the storm. Ma Tawang's eyes widen in shock before he scoffs, calling him an arrogant brat. Steel flashes. Hamaru manages to carve a deep gash into the giant's arm. With a wet squelch, Hamaru rips his knife free from Ma Tawang's flesh. Hamaru demands to know why this monster keeps bringing up the old man. Did he admire him that much? Hamaru's eyes go cold as he promises Ma Tawang will soon meet the exact same fate. Ma Tawang laughs, ripping his own clothing to bind his weapon to his hand. He praises the boy's fighting spirit, growling that the man who killed Director Hong needs at least this much resolve. The air grows heavy with killing intent. Ma Tawang issues his final challenge. He will end this pathetic struggle with a single, devastating strike. He mocks Hamaru's weapon, asking if he can really fight with that dull blade. But Hamaru stands tall, declaring calmly that this piece of steel is more than enough to finish the job. Inside the luxurious Charlotte Hotel, violence erupts. A fist connects with bone-shattering force, sending a man flying. Bodies litter the floor. One attacker stumbles back, reeling from the impact. A voice cuts through the chaos, calling out for Director Choi, and the director turns to scan the room. Shim Yun-ju steps out from the hallway shadows. She waves him over, her voice urgent but commanding. With a sly smile, Director Choi tells his crew to ignore the small fry. He flashes his family's VIP card, reactivating a frozen elevator, and announces that their royal shortcut is ready. Banju turns to Chogong with a smirk, asking if the mission didn't just get a whole lot easier, thanks to his quick thinking. Elsewhere, a smoke grenade hisses across the floor, veiling the battlefield in gray. A mercenary sneers at Yudon, asking why those trash from the Gajwan mattered so much to her. He draws his combat knife, eyes void of emotion. To him, it was just business. He states that anyone who gets in the way of his paycheck will be deleted. Yudan screams his name. She swears on her life that he will pay in blood for what he has done. They collide in a blur of motion. The mercenary scoffs, finding it unbelievable she's risking death over a few dead civilians. She parries his lethal strike, sparks flying. Her voice trembles with rage as she asks if slaughtering her family is a joke to him. Furious, Yudan slashes forward, demanding to know if he's laughing inside. The man blocks and grins, answering, yes. He asks if she's never had to crush a few insects before. He presses the attack, mocking her. How could those strangers possibly be family? Yudan weaves under his blade, seizing his arm in a vice grip, her knife ready to strike. She roars that to her, they were everything. With the weight of her grief behind it, she drives a fist straight into his face. He stumbles back, spitting blood, asking if she's really that broken up about it. He lunges for the kill, promising to reunite her with them, but she checks the blow and buries her knee in his gut. The mercenary doubles over, gasping for air. Yudan doesn't hesitate. She reverses her knife grip and smashes the hilt into his face with a sickening crack. Standing over him like an avenging angel, she orders him to go to hell and apologize to them personally. Fear finally shatters his composure. He crawls, claiming he was forced, that he never wanted to kill. He begs for mercy, sobbing that he was wrong and that he has a family waiting for him too. A bittersweet memory flashes before her eyes, sharing a humble meal with the warm souls of the Gajuan. Yudan lets out a heavy, trembling sigh. She turns her back, telling the trash to get lost. He thanks her profusely, promising to never forget this mercy. But the moment she looks away, his expression twists. He snatches a gun from the floor, his eyes manic. He swears that even if he dies, he'll take her down with him. But Yudan was waiting. She spins, her own gun already leveled at his skull. She tells him to carry that memory into the afterlife. The man freezes, pleading once more about his family. She coldly repeats his own words back to him. Anyone who gets in the way of my work goes down. And then, she attacks. Back in the hallway, Ma Tawang stands covered in blood, panting heavily. He admits he finally understands why Junho adored this kid, so much the skill level is undeniable. He looks down at his wounds, wondering if this is where his story ends. A twisted smile creeps across his face. He whispers that dying in battle isn't such a bad way to go. Gripping his sword, he thanks Hamaru for the fun. With one last scream, he charges forward to end it all. Hamaru watches him come. His gaze is steady, unshakable. The giant sword crashes into the floor. Hamaru sidesteps like a ghost, appearing instantly behind his opponent. He glances back, his eyes cold as ice. Ma Tawang looks over his shoulder, offering one final, warrior's smile. The decisive blow lands. Silence falls. Hamaru picks up the fallen giant's sword, weighing it in his hand. He rests the blade against the fallen warrior, honoring his promise to send him to the old man. He wrenches the blade free, telling him to send his regards to hell. Just then, Chief Park rushes onto the scene, shouting Hamaru's name, relieved to find him alive. Hamaru asks if the perimeter is secure. But Park's face is pale. He reports a critical failure. Director Choi is missing. Park stammers, explaining that he called the team upstairs and they haven't seen him either. He's vanished. The truth hits Hamaru like a lightning bolt. Choi is in the elevator. A sense of dread washes over him. Shim Yunju is walking straight into a trap. On the floor below, Yudain gripped her weapon tight, speaking into her comms with lethal calm. She asked if they should ascend, but her report was cold and final. The high-value targets on this level had already been neutralized. Yudain paused, scanning the carnage, and added that fully clearing the area would still take a few more moments. Kim Soo-yeon loomed behind her, eyes dark with intensity, reminding her that one crucial target still remained. Meanwhile, inside the elevator, Shim Yunju smirked at his superior. Shim Yunju continued his flattery, claiming his assistance was vital in capturing President Shin Yun-young, and asking Director Cho to bear witness to his loyalty. Cho Ki-jong barely spared him a glance, his voice devoid of emotion, as he replied that he would simply report the facts to the president. Undeterred, Shim reminded him that they couldn't let the traitor Han Maru steal the glory, scoffing that the boy was no match for the director anyway. The elevator doors slid open with a chime. Shim pointed down the corridor, announcing that President Shin Yun-young's office lay just ahead. He suggested they secure the president immediately, but a figure lounging in a hallway chair spoke up, asking if they had finally arrived. Han Maru rose to his feet, noting their speed. Shim Yunju froze, staring in disbelief before barking, asking what the hell Manager Lee was doing there, and if he thought he was a VIP now. Cho Ki-jong narrowed his eyes at the audacity. Han Maru drew his sword, the steel singing as he declared he had come straight to the source. Shim Yunju shouted in outrage, questioning how a subordinate dared speak to Director Cho that way, and asking if he truly planned to betray World Group to side with Hotel Charlotte. With his hand resting calmly on the hilt of his blade, Han Maru smiled grimly, confirming that elimination was the price of his admission to Charlotte's side. He locked eyes with his former boss, shouting for Director Cho, and unsheathed his sword in a blur of deadly motion. Elsewhere, the confrontation ignited as the man with the sword challenged Cho Ki-jong. The director simply stared back, a terrifying silence filling the hall. A twisted, bloodthirsty grin slowly spread across Cho Ki-jong's face as he admitted he had always been curious about Maru's true skill, and then he launched his attack. Han Maru roared at him to shut up and fight, and as steel clashed against steel, a flashback revealed that his nightmare had started like any other day. He had been a fresh recruit, full of hope, trapped in a company that ground its workers into dust for profit. Even at 4 in the morning, his superior had barked orders, dragging them to a mandatory company dinner and forbidding anyone from going home. He had gritted his teeth and endured the hell, rising to manager, but the abuse never stopped. Even after a workplace explosion, he was forced to work while bleeding and untreated. Maru had been framed for crimes he didn't commit, nearly losing his life, all while asking himself the same pathetic question: why must I work overtime again? The absurdity of his existence had finally crushed him, leaving him wondering if this torture was simply too much for one soul to bear. In a dark alley, a colleague had lit a cigarette for him, calling him Hyung Nim, and agreeing that their situation was absolute hell. The man had exhaled smoke, asking if Maru intended to keep slaving away for Director Cho, telling him plainly that he couldn't survive like this. Maru's eyes had hardened with resolve, as he declared it a life-or-death decision. Either the director died, or he did. His colleague had then slid a sleek business card into his hand, whispering that if he wanted to jump ship, Hotel Charlotte was waiting for his call. He added that since Maru was already betraying World Group, it wasn't too late to sell his skills to the rival faction. The name on the card read Shin Yun Young. Maru had closed his eyes, his heart pounding as he made the choice that would seal his fate. In the present, inside her office, President Shin Yun Young welcomed him, pleased he had arrived before the enemy, and asked directly what reward he sought. She leaned forward, her voice dripping with promise, stating she understood his value and could grant any desire he named. Han Maru stated simply that he didn't want riches, just a life where work didn't consume his soul, and she asked if that was truly all. With eyes burning like coals, he added one final condition. He wanted to be the one to take down Cho Ki-jong. Back in reality, his grip tightened on his sword. Cho Ki-jong threw a devastating punch, but Maru's blade intercepted the blow with a resounding metallic clang. Maru spun the sheath in a dazzling display of dexterity, then cracked the heavy hilt purely into Cho Ki-jong's face. The director stumbled back, wiping blood from his lip, and muttered that the rookie moved better than expected as Maru charged again. Cho Ki-jong analyzed the onslaught, noting the terrifying speed and precision, and how Maru mixed irregular rhythms to confuse him. But experience was a cruel teacher. Cho Ki-jong snapped a kick to Maru's leg, shattering his balance and forcing a desperate retreat. Cho realized there was a pattern. A slash followed instantly by a kick, but Maru recovered faster than anticipated, slamming a fist into the director's jaw. Cho Ki-jong grit his teeth, admitting that even knowing the pattern, Maru's sheer velocity made dodging nearly impossible. He calculated his odds, realizing he had to maintain distance to survive the lethal chain of short and mid-range attacks. Han Maru screamed a taunt, asking why the mighty director was running away, declaring that this hallway would be Cho Ki-jong's dead end. Cho braced himself, knowing that while he could read the moves, his body might not be fast enough to react to the incoming storm. As Maru struck, Cho Ki-jong twisted his body in a blur, dodging the blade by a hair's breadth just as he had calculated. His hand shot out like a viper, seizing Maru's arm in a vice grip, and he sneered that the attack patterns were far too obvious. With a roar of exertion, Cho twisted the wrist and hurled Han Maru down the hall. The traitor hit the floor hard, coughing blood from the brutal impact. Hamaru crashes to the ground. Choi Gi-jong sneers, praising his fast moves, but mocks that his body cannot keep up with his own speed. Breathing heavily, Hamaru barely holds himself up with his sword. His opponent lectures him. If you can't react, you just need to predict and dodge. Choi Gi-jong steps forward, killing intent radiating from him. Now, you will pay the price for your betrayal. He admits Hamaru was a useful pawn. Then boom! Choi Gi-jong smashes the floor with his bare hand, winding up for the finishing blow. Suddenly, his instincts scream. He twists to the side. Kim Young crashes into the hallway, pinning Shim Yeonju to the ground. Choi Gi-jong's eyes narrow. If Kim Young is here, Hamaru must be nearby too, but something feels wrong about this setup. He realizes she didn't jump. She was thrown. A man steps out from the shadows, his voice cold. How far do you plan to run, Young? Kim Soo-gi suggests snapping her legs to stop her flight, but he gets scolded immediately for using excessive force while supporting a wounded comrade. Kim Yang grumbles. Dealing with Director Choi was bad enough, and now this? She reveals the man she crushed was her family's killer, apologizing for the mess. The wounded man coughs, cutting through the tension. Put that aside for a second. Right now, we need to figure out how to survive these monsters. He laments facing Director Choi in his condition, but Soo-in fires back sharp words. You are in better shape than the guy with the broken leg. Someone sighs heavily. Today is going to be a long, hellish day. All this chaos, just because of one troublesome colleague. Ding! The elevator doors slide open, stepping out with an imposing aura. It is Hamaru, flanked by Chief Park. Kim Sugi's face twists into a sinister smile. Jackpot. I get the traitor Young and Hamaru in one go. He charges like a raging bull, screaming curses, but Hamaru stands unmoved. Wipe that stupid look off your face. Slash. With a single, fluid motion, Hamaru's blade bites into his arms. A perfect, surgical strike. Hamaru flicks the blood away. That is one down. Choi Gi-jong grins like a demon, locking eyes with him. Time for round 2. Suddenly, a radio crackles to life. Director Choi is on the 12th floor. All units, converge now. The voice warns them to split up to avoid an ambush. But as the doors open, surprise! 4 armed men are waiting for them. In a flash, the squad is wiped out. The team leader realizes too late. Damn it. We are on the wrong floor. Meanwhile, in the stairwell, another team scrambles upward, ordered to breach the 12th floor immediately. Are you sure this is it? The leader barks. Confirmed, his subordinate yells. Go, capture Shim Yeonju. No hesitation. Wham! The leader is sent flying by a brutal impact. Takanaka Yoshinori emerges, katana gleaming in the dim light. Terror fills the men's eyes. That guy. He is from Dowu Livestock. The leader screams in despair. We have been tricked. Wrong floor again. Chaos erupts as his men are slaughtered. In another hallway, a minigun spins up with a roar. Chicho, Kim Dong-ho, and Min Chang-suk stand ready. Kill them all. Panic spreads like wildfire through the stairwells. One man cries out in confusion. Since when were the floor signs switched? Safe in her office, Shim Yun-young watches the monitors. Everything is proceeding exactly as planned. She muses on their enemy. World projects itself as an invincible fortress. But look closer, and the cracks appear. Their arrogance is their undoing. Prioritizing personal glory over the mission was their fatal mistake. For us, this is the golden scenario. A perfect opportunity to isolate them and pick them apart, piece by piece. The strategy was simple. Lure the factions in, separate them, and crush them. This was the endgame from the very start. Shim Yun-young smiles. And Maru's friend. His advice was the key to this entire operation. Kim Ha-jun smirks. Switching the signs? It is a cheap parlor trick, but in this chaos, it is devastatingly effective. Yet, Shim warns them. Do not get cocky. World's executives are monsters. One slip up, and they will turn the tables. Back on the battlefield, Hamaru thinks back to his crushing defeat. Since that day, one question haunted him. How do I kill that bastard? The gap between them wasn't just skill. It was physically insurmountable, at least 2 weight classes apart. He had been a fool. He thought a sword gave him the edge against bare hands. He was dead wrong. Choi Gi-jong is a god of close-quarters combat. Hamaru realized that fighting the old way was a suicide mission. So, he evolved. He prepared a new strategy for this inevitable rematch. No more delusions about weapon advantage. Physics is the enemy. Swing a heavy greatsword, and you leave an opening to reset your stance. The momentum alone vibrates through your bones. The recoil shatters your balance. Forcing an attack through that recoil tears muscles apart. But Choi Gi-jong, his physical stats are simply in a realm of their own. Boom! Steel meets flesh with explosive force. Hamaru is blasted backward. Choi Gi-jong laughs. I thought you actually learned a new trick. Cho Ki-jong scoffs, dismissing the threat entirely. To him, nothing has truly changed in this duel, only the weapon in the boy's hand is different. Yet, his instincts scream danger, forcing him to brace for the next assault. But Maru isn't just attacking. He is perfectly replicating Cho Ki-jong's own signature technique. The psychological pressure mounts. Since the villain has no idea how many times Maru can chain this high-level move, he is forced into a defensive shell. Maru knows he has a split second the moment he attacks alone to end this nightmare. Maru explodes forward. He unleashes a torrential downpour of swift sword strikes, turning the air into a deadly web of steel. Backed into a corner, Cho Ki-jong slams against the wall, using his armored arm to absorb the barrage. But Maru finds his opening, landing a decisive, bone-rattling blow directly on his opponent. The impact is devastating. Cho Ki-jong's eye patch is ripped away, clattering to the floor to reveal a hideous, jagged scar across his face. Blood trickles down, but Maru just smirks, his voice dripping with provocation. Tell me, did the old man give you that souvenir? The taunt hits the mark. Cho Ki-jong's eyes blaze with uncontrollable fury. Roaring, how dare you! He charges like a mad beast, forcing Maru to brace for the imminent collision. Maru's hands tremble violently. He realizes with horror that he has overused the sword. His body is at its breaking point. He needs just one single opportunity to finish this. The enemy closes the distance rapidly. Maru calculates the spacing, needing him in the perfect kill zone. He tightens his grip on the hilt, pouring every ounce of his remaining soul into this final stand. The two warriors collide in a thunderous clash. Cho Ki-jong survives the exchange, a twisted smile forming. He admits with grudging respect that if he hadn't guarded midway, that strike would have sent him to hell. But the moment of praise is fleeting. With lightning speed, the veteran prepares a lethal counterattack. He dissects Maru's failure instantly. The boy was so obsessed with landing the decisive blow that he lost control of his form, sending his sword clattering out of reach. Maru clutches his injured arm, cursing his own inexperience and his broken body. Cho Ki-jong steps closer, looming over him like a predator, mocking him with a patronizing "job well done." Refusing to yield, Maru extends a shaking hand, begging fate for just one more second. He squeezes his fist, summoning the last dregs of strength left in his veins. Cho Ki-jong moves to deliver the executioner's strike. But suddenly, Maru defies logic. He lunges and grabs the villain tightly by the chest. "Got you," he signals, confirming his trap worked. Cho Ki-jong doesn't hesitate, slamming a sledgehammer of a punch into the boy. The impact creates a sickening thud against Maru's frame. Maru collapses to the cold ground. His opponent stares down in disbelief, finding this desperate, weaponless struggle utterly pathetic. Cho Ki-jong scoffs, his voice thick with arrogance. "Did you truly believe using my own technique against me would work, you arrogant child?" He advances to crush the insect beneath his heel, calling him a fool. But suddenly, a blur of motion. Something slams into Cho Ki-jong's hand, shocking him into freezing. A new hand shoots out, grabbing his chest with the grip of a vice. Cho Ki-jong roars in confusion and rage. "Who the hell are you?" Then, the pain registers. A massive shockwave travels through his chest. He reels back, wondering if this agony stems from the wound Maru opened earlier. It is Kim So-han. His hand tightens like an iron clamp. With a burst of monstrous power, he lifts Cho Ki-jong effortlessly and slams him into the earth with earth-shattering force. Kim So-han stands tall, chest heaving with exertion, while the legendary villain lies flattened. Maru drags himself up, a bloody smile gracing his lips as he looks at his savior. Kim So-han glances back, breaking the silence with a dry remark. "That last hit must have really stung."